You a Euro, you are Doman Fei's grandson? Freddy asked. Yeah, we sparred in the past. Do you still remember? Jack asked. He did remember Doman's grandson who he played with as a favor to Doman. But that kid was just a little child back then. Now that he was reminded, he did see a resemblance between Jack and that little kid. Freddy's expression softened, but only for an instant. It was soon back to a steely face again. No, I don't care if you are Doman's grandson. Even if you are my own grandson, we will still be enemies in this place. Uncle Freddy, be reasonable. I truly have a way out of here. Jack tried to convince him. No, stay away from me, Freddy shouted. He gave Sadie another glance before he ran away from there. Uncle Freddy a Euro, Jack called, but Freddy didn't respond. Sadie came to them. She was still wary, but she decided to just accept her fate in case this was a trap. Kramer and Winston looked at Jack, unsure if they should attack Sadie or not. Everyone, store your weapons, Jack told them. He sheathed his wrench and short sword. I meant it when I said I have a way out. I can't say it is guaranteed, but at least there is a chance, Jack said to Sadie. Sadie felt Jack's sincerity through his words. She decided to trust Jack then. If you need my help, you have it, Sadie said. Thank you, Jack said. Sadie could see that Jack was still sad that he failed to persuade Freddy. Sadie said to him, this place turns the best people into a worse version of themselves. Freddy has been here for a very long time, a Euro, so do I. Let's go. It's going to get dark soon. Jack climbed back on his bike and restarted it. So, you truly have known that we have been following you? Sadie asked. Yes, but what I said about a way out is still the truth, Jack replied. Sadie believed him. Kramer, Winston, and Sadie ran following Jack, who led on the motorbike. He adjusted the bike speed to the three's running speed. While on the way, Jack asked Sadie a few questions. They arrived soon at the safe house. Jack called to let the people inside know he was the one outside. Stefan opened the door. He was happy to see Kramer and Winston, but then he froze when he saw Sadie. This woman tried to kill him earlier today. When Stefan gave Jack a questioning glance, Jack uttered, let's talk inside. Hurry. There is not much time. Jack had seen on his radar a large number of red dots appearing at the periphery of his radar. The dark creatures had come out again to hunt in the night. Everyone hurriedly went in. Stefan closed the door and barricaded it with a cupboard and a heavy table. Not long after, they heard a lot of crawling sounds from outside. All of them became tense from the sound. Something banged on the door, but the door was solid enough. After some time, the crawling sounds lessened until it was finally silent outside. It seemed the dark creatures didn't know that they were inside this building. We call them the Night Hunters, Sadie said. Their number increased as this world arena shrinks each day. In the last 2 days, this battle royale match will become more about survival against these hunters. What is she doing here? Tom finally asked. He had been agitated since he saw Sadie come in. Her team had attacked his team twice in the past, even taking out several of his team members during the first ambush. Wendy and Naomi were also eyeing Sadie with hostility. Everyone, please calm down, Grace mediated. Let's listen to Jack's explanation. Jack came to the middle of the room and cleared his throat. Ahem. Everyone listen up. I know some of you have enmity with people in this room. Trust me, I understand how you feel. I myself want more than anything to beat up this asshole right this moment. But I restrain myself. Jack was pointing at Master, who scoffed in return. But in this place we are all the victims. We are members from 3 different teams who have been instructed to kill each other. We can choose to obey that instruction and succumb to whatever force controls our lives here. To which Sadie here can explain what will happen. Sadie looked at everyone in the room. She then said, I have been here for a while. I'm not sure how long, but I think it's almost 1 year already. I have been on 3 different games until now. I've died in all 3 games. I came back to life and they forced me to train in a training room until I get past level 50 and then they sent me back into the game again. I'm not sure how many games the owner here has hosted, but I think they host one at least every month. That's not possible. I've been in captivity for 2 months, Stefan said. They are still looking for participants for this game until recently. There are more of these teams than you think. Not just the 4 who were in this game, Sadie replied. You won't believe how many people are in captivity. There are more than you know. They purposefully let some first-time participants stay in captivity longer than necessary. They probably thought this could motivate us to be more enthusiastic when the game starts. Sometimes when they didn't have enough participants, they still run the game anyway by forcing all the old participants to play. But most of the time, they prefer the current setting. 3 teams filled with new blood, while 1 team composed of the old participants, my team. So that's what they want? They want us to repeatedly play this game? For the rest of our lives? Stefan asked. Some players decided to defy, Sadie said. They stopped following the program and refused to level up in the training room. We never heard from them again. Did they were they killed permanently? Stefan asked. Not possible, Master answered. Even the gods of this world can't do that. They most probably suffer a worse punishment. Worse punishment than death? Stefan asked. Only an unimaginative mind thinks death is the scariest thing, Master mocked. There is one other thing you need to know, Jack said. This so-called end match is not the real end match. It's not, almost everyone asked. Jack turned to Sadie. He had heard all this from Sadie during their journey here. There is another match after this one, Sadie said. If the winning team has more than 1 member in it, they were then placed into another smaller arena. In this arena, these team members will have to fight each other until only 1 remains. The final match after this end match is the real battle royale, Jack explained. Jack then turned to Sadie and asked, That's why your team only has 5 members, correct? Sadie nodded. Why bother saving the ones in the sacrificial rounds when in the end they will be among the ones who try to kill you? Even the 5 in our team only agree to temporarily work together to reduce the number of the other teams. Once sufficient threats have been eliminated, we will go our own ways to prepare. All the tools you gather in this match will carry over to the final match's arena. What happens when you win this final match? Do you get a reward Like, maybe freedom? Winston asked. There is no freedom, Sadie replied. You can forget to ever get it from the people in charge of this place. All the winner of this game gets is simply the right to rest while the others are forced to go through grueling and tiring training sessions to quickly get back to sufficient levels for the next game. Freddy from my team is the reigning champion in every game he participated. Jack now addressed everyone. You hear that, folks? All the organizers of this game want from us is to serve as their entertainment. Forever. There is no escape. There is no freedom. If you want one, you have to take it yourself. Do you have a way? Tom asked. Yes. Thanks to this asshole, we have a chance to be removed from this restriction imposed on us. Jack pointed at Master, who was starting to get irritated for constantly being called an asshole. Once the restriction is removed, we will have the power to fight back. I will also have the ability to sense the doorway that might bring us to the exit of this place. Master turned to Jack with a frown. He was wondering if this guy was telling the truth or simply trying to motivate the crowd. He also had a method to find the exit, but he was planning to keep it to himself. The others, who heard Jack, had their expressions brightened, especially those from his team. They believed in Jack and they knew he won't let them down. Sadie was rather astonished seeing this level of trust. Even though she also wanted to believe in Jack, she was actually rather skeptical. All right, everyone rests. Tomorrow morning, I will go and find the last member of my team, Jack informed. At noon, we will go to break this place that can give us our abilities back. If you are talking about the woman native from your team, there is no need to go search anymore, Sadie said to Jack. She has died. When Jack gave her a questioning look, Sadie added, My team killed her. You, despicable murderer. Winston yelled. Carrie was a native, so her death was permanent. Winston was about to lunge at Sadie when Spring Crown held him back. Aside from the ones in this room and Freddy, there is no one else out there, Sadie said. The 4th team outside of the 3 inside here has been wiped out. My team made sure of that. Jack looked down in sadness. Well, what's done is done. Rest. We will depart early morning tomorrow to get our abilities back. Jack walked to a corner of the room to take a rest while Grace and Spring Crown organized the people to take turns keeping watch. They had to make sure at least one person is awake in case the night hunters tried to break through the entrance. When Jack got near the corner, he suddenly heard a beep from his god-eye monocle. The 8-hour duration from the equipment freestone was not yet over. A marking appeared in his vision, denoting one part of the floor that was covered by rubbles. Jack went over and cleared the rubble. The others were confused seeing his action. Kramer, who had been following Jack closely to rest near him, helped clear the rubbles without being asked. Everyone else came over due to curiosity. After the rubble was cleared, everyone saw that the floor was empty. They wondered what was the point of clearing the rubbles there. The marking on Jack's god-eye monocle was still there. That's why he noticed something the others didn't see. He leaned closer and saw a thin line along the floor, forming a square shape. A secret door, Jack thought. He blew hard at the floor and it turned out the dust was hiding a recess on the floor. He slipped his hand into the recess and grabbed a handle. He then pulled. It was heavy, but it was nothing for his strength. The secret door started opening. Everyone stared at the hole in the floor with wide eyes. The inside was dark. They couldn't see what was in there. There was a vertical stair they could use to climb down. I will go down and check first. Everyone else stays up here, Jack said. I will go down too, Sadie said. If this is what I think it is, we are in luck. I will go as well, Master declared. He also had an idea of what was down there. Then I will go too, Grace said. She won't let Jack down there without backup if Master was going. Well, I will be up here and take care of the others then, Spring Crown said with a smile. So the four climbed down the stairs with Jack in the lead. It was pretty deep. Jack saw a dim light in the distance when his feet touched the ground. The dim light let him know he was in a tunnel. He walked in the direction of the dim light. He came into an enclosed small room with shelves. Multiple things were on the shelves. As I thought, it is a stash room, Sadie said when she came into the room. A stash room? Grace asked. It's a place where a lot of tools are stored, Sadie explained. Throughout my 3 games, I've only found a stash room one time, and that was also by pure luck. Jack wasn't exactly listening to Sadie because his eyes were fixated on one particular thing on the shelves. He walked to the thing, picked it up, and uttered, "Fuck yeah! It is a fucking RPG launcher Euro. Woohoo! There is even a spare rocket," Jack exclaimed when he saw the rocket-propelled grenade next to where the launcher used to be. This meant this launcher can be shot twice. The description on the RPG said that its explosion could take out 3 shields. This meant this was a one-hit kill weapon, and it was even an AoE attack. He then saw another thing that made him excited. Yeah, I now got my own capsule case. Jack picked up a similar pill case that Master used to store the motorbike. The description said that it could store tools of any size, but only one could be stored at a time. Jack moved the capsule case close to the RPG launcher, and a prompt appeared asking if he wanted to store the launcher inside the case. Jack agreed. The launcher shrank and flew into the case. The capsule case then closed by itself. Cool, Jack uttered. He looked around to see if there was another capsule case he could use to store the extra RPG. Sadie was also browsing the things on the shelf. Master had been looking around the place once he entered. He had also come across one such stash room when he wandered by himself. He had found one equipment skill stone by luck. He then used the stone to allow him to use his god-eye monocle so he could move freely around the place. As he traveled, the monocle informed him of an entrance to a stash room by accident. Master's monocle could point out important things at a longer range than the other god-eye monocles. That's how he had easily found a stash room while Jack had to go near the entrance before his monocle notified him. This was how Master had many tools on him. His eyes laid on one thing he had been searching for. He now walked toward it. When he was about to grab the thing, another hand beat him to it. You aren't interested in the other things, but you come to this one specifically. I wonder why? Grace said. While the others had their eyes on the things on the shelves, She kept her eyes on Master. Grace looked at the thing in her hand. She understood then after reading the texts above it. "What's that?" Jack asked. He noticed what transpired between Grace and Master. Master only stared at them in silence. Grace handed the thing in her hand to Jack. Limiter off stone, undo all restrictions. Duration, 1 minute. This could be said to be the ultimate tool. They could use all their abilities if they used this stone. Even if it was for a very short duration of only 1 minute, the player who used this could easily beat all the other participants during that short 1 minute. "The fact that you are targeting this thing means you already lay eyes on one before," Jack said to Master. "You have one with you, don't you?" Master kept his silence. "You stay away from these shelves," Grace warned Master. "Grace, you watch him," Jack said. "Sadie and I will collect and catalog all the tools in this room. We will decide what to do with them afterward." "You trust me?" Sadie asked. "At least more than him," Jack replied. Master didn't resist, but he said, "Let me warn you. You have better use these tools to fight your way to the main node rather than sharing them with the others upstairs." Jack didn't say anything in reply. He and Sadie started collecting things and took notes on the stuff they found. They lay them on the ground by grouping the same type of items. "Okay, we got 9 skill-free stones, 4 equipment-free stones, 5 adhesive bandages, 1 bear trap, 1 RPG launcher with 1 extra ammo, 1 grenade, 2 shield protect stones, 2 capsule cases, and 1 limiter off stone. €1, Jack thought while studying the goods. These are a lot for use by one person, but they are not enough for a group, Master said. Don't expect you can share them with many people to help you fight your way to the main node. Unless, of course, you plan to use them as meat shields by fighting together with you. Now, that is a plan I can respect. Jack grinned at the words, which confused Master. Jack turned to Grace and Sadie and asked, "Do you mind if I take all these?" "You know I don't," Grace said. "As long as you can get me out of this hell, I don't care about this stuff," Sadie replied. So Jack took all of them except for the bear trap and put them inside the fanny pack on his waist. The RPG launcher and its extra ammo, which were large, were shrunk into the 2 capsule cases so they could fit inside his fanny pack. He didn't think he needed the bear trap, but he still tied it next to his fanny pack. Jack then took the 2 equipment-free tools that Master gave him earlier. He threw them back at Master, who caught them deftly. "If anyone is going to be my meat shield, it's going to be you," Jack said. Master frowned. "I've told you, I won't be any help to you with most of my spells sealed. I believe you found one of these stash rooms as well, didn't you? That's how you got so many tools. I'm pretty sure you got many skill-free tools as well. Your spells can take out a large number of enemies. Even if you can only cast a limited number of spells, they will still be useful in clearing the way. Those night hunters fight en masse after all." When Master remained silent, Jack added, "Even without your spells, your attributes outclass everyone else. With your equipment back, I'm sure you can afford to give those night hunters a run for their money. Don't worry, I will protect you €1, sort of." When Master still didn't respond, Jack said, "Okay, let's put it this way, asshole. You want a way out, right? I will fight my way to this node you mentioned, but don't expect me to risk myself alone. If I go, you will have to come with me." Finally, Master replied, "Humph, so be it." The next morning, everyone was gazing at a ruined high-rise building. Master led them to this place. They spent several hours walking since there was only one vehicle. The motorbike had been stored back in Master's capsule case. The high-rise building before them was heavily damaged. 2/3 of its walls were gone, revealing its interior. Tall walls made of debris from the collapse of nearby buildings surrounded this high-rise building, making it inaccessible. "That is where the main node is?" Jack asked. "You said it is full of the night hunters, right?" "It looks empty to me," Stefan uttered. "Hello, it's called Night Hunters. This is daytime," Naomi told Stefan. "Well then, case closed. We should have no problem getting to the top of that building without those night hunters hindering the way," Spring Crown said. "How do we get there?" "I don't see a traversable way," Winston said. "Jack, maybe you can use 1 free skill stone and fly over these walls," Grace suggested. "Don't waste that stone," Master finally uttered. He just stayed silent when the others discussed the place. You can't fly into that place. I've tried. There is a no-fly zone enchantment around the building. Follow me. Master approached one side of the debris walls. The others looked at each other before following him. When they thought maybe Master knew a secret switch that could make the wall open a path, he disappeared. Ha! The others were confused by this turn of events, except for Spring Crown and Grace, who had a better look at what had happened. He just stepped in, Grace told everyone. Spring Crown walked to the place where Master disappeared. He had one hand touch the wall. Except he didn't feel anything when his hand came into contact with the pile of concrete. His hand just went through as if there was nothing there. It's an illusion, Spring Crown said. He then walked in. On the other side, he was greeted with a very different scene. The high-rise building in front of him was nothing like the one he saw outside. This one was in perfect condition with all its walls intact. But what was more intriguing was the sky above was dark as if nighttime. There were still debris walls around the perimeter of the building, but the space around the building was clear of any rubble. The only entry into this space was through the hole in the wall he had entered from. The others also entered one by one through this hole. What the euro? Do we enter another world? Stefan asked. Crap. Here I thought we are going to get it easy by going up this high-rise during daylight, Jack said after he entered. Do you think I still need your help if that is the case? Master uttered annoyingly. So, you have tried entering the building? Jack asked. Only the first floor euro, Master answered. There is a shortcut and a long way to get to the stairs to the second floor. The shortcut is through a large hall filled with night hunters. The long way is through a series of corridors. Some night hunters roam this corridor, but it is possible to sneak past them using the monocle's radar. But after checking the situation, I don't want to risk sneaking up and getting trapped in between the floors if things go bad. How very cowardly of you, Jack ridiculed. I think that is called cautious, Tom said. I don't think that's bad. Hey, whose side are you on? Jack said to him. Aren't we all supposed to be on the same side at this moment? Tom thought bewilderedly. Have you tried killing any of the night hunters when you entered the last time? Do you know if they spawned back? Jack asked Master. No, I don't, Master answered. Do you plan to brute force your way in? Spring Crown asked Jack. If they didn't spawn back, maybe we can lure them to a choke point and kill them slowly, Jack replied. Or better, lure them out so we can take them out while they were going through that door. They will have to come out one at a time. I don't think they will follow you out of the building, Master said. Furthermore, we don't have much time to do this slowly. Yeah, the world will shrink, Sadie said. The layout of every game is not the same. However, there is never a large building on the last day of the end match when the world shrunk to 10 by 10 meters. This building will be inaccessible after 2 days. Wait, one thing worries me, Stefan interjected. That main node is super important, right? Then won't Agli or whoever is in charge knows when it is destroyed? If she has the power to create this constructed dimension, won't it be easy for her to take us out even if our powers are back? I don't think she will know, Master said. Are you sure? Jack asked. No, I don't, Master answered. But remember when I said about the controller of this dimension becoming more preoccupied the larger the scale of the constructed world is? During the sacrificial selection match, Agli could stay with us all the time. That showed it didn't take much energy to maintain that world. During the sacrificial round, she was absent. She was only present at the beginning and the end. She wasn't aware of what happened during the round, but she was aware when the round ended. That's why she always reappeared either after the sacrifice was killed or saved. As for this world, the scale is incomparable to the sacrificial round. My speculation is even if we destroy the main node and take out the rune diagram blocking our powers, she won't know. Speculation? We are risking our lives for speculation, Jack asked. The fact that Agli put such high security around the main node is proof of my theory, Master said. Otherwise, she can just swoop in and undo all the damage we do. There is no need for all this security. I think he is right, Sadie said. During my second game, my team won this battle royale match on the second day. Everyone from the other 3 teams was already dead. We thought the game would end then, but it didn't. We just loitered around during the day and hid from the night hunters in the night until the morning of the 5th day. Then only did Agli appear and announce us the winners. I see. This means if we destroy this main node today, we still have 1 day free to look for the exit, Jack said. That is my plan, Master said. You might be a fool, but I don't think you are that stupid to think destroying this main node is the end of our trouble, are you? All right. Then this asshole and I will be entering the building and securing us a path to our freedom, Jack announced, at the same time getting back at Master for calling him stupid. Take this, Sadie said and handed Jack a short sword that was hanging by her waist. That was a weapon from someone she had defeated. It's her melee weapon for supporting her slingshot. Freddy said, you are a very good swordsman. I supposed using this short sword is better than that wrench. Thank you, Jack told her. Even though his sword's heart allowed him to utilize almost anything as a sword, he was still more comfortable using 2 short swords rather than using a wrench and a short sword. Jack accepted the short sword. He now had 2 short swords sheathed on the 2 sides of his waist. He offered his wrench to Master. If you need a melee weapon, Jack said. He remembered Master chose a slingshot as his weapon. I don't need a melee weapon. Master didn't take the wrench. Since Master rejected his offer, Jack threw the wrench to Spring Crown. Spring Crown also used a slingshot as a weapon. Yo. Thanks, bro, Spring Crown said. Are you ready? Jack asked Master. Master took out an equipment-free stone and was about to use it, but Jack said to him, Wait, don't use it for your armor or weapon. The armor lasted only 1 hour. It's better if we save them for when we truly can't avoid a conflict. You said there are corridors where we might be able to sneak to the stairs, right? We will try going through the corridors. I know. Do you think I'm stupid like you? I am using it for my monocle, Master said and activated the stone. A god-eye monocle appeared in one of his eyes. My monocle is a superior version, so we will use mine. You follow me closely. When it's time to use your equipment-free stones, use them only for your armor. Save at least 1 stone for our weapon once the main node is in sight. Weapons last only 5 minutes. If I see the main node, I will use the limiter-off stone to go all out. Stupid. Jack returned the insult. Why would I only use 1 weapon when I can use all my equipment? Now. Play nice. You 2 are on the same team for now, Spring Crown mediated. Once this is over and we are back out there, you 2 can go back to happily murdering one another. Humph. Master looked away. Humph. Jack also did the same thing in a much more exaggerated manner. Well, even if I ask you 2 to play nice, I can't say that I'm not enjoying this, Spring Crown grinned. Grace tapped Jack's shoulder and said, Be careful. I wish I can go inside with you. No. I need you to be safe out here. Don't worry. I will get this main node. Then we can go and find the exit, Jack said. He then looked at the high-rise building and started counting. There are 20 floors. Grace had already counted when Jack and Master were talking. Jack nodded. I suppose the main node will be on the top floor. There are no stairs to the basement and a no-fly zone enchantment is in place. So, the top floor is a safe assumption, Master agreed. Let's go in, Jack said and walked toward the building's entrance. Master grabbed Jack and pulled him back. Hey, Jack protested. I have the monocle. You stay behind me, Master uttered and walked to the entrance. I'm afraid they will fight each other more than they fight the night hunters inside, Spring Crown chuckled. This is not funny. Our freedom depends on them, Sadie said. She was not amused by Spring Crown's chuckle. I beg to differ, my lady. I do find it funny, Spring Crown said, maintaining his grin. What do we do now? Tom asked Grace. €1 we wait, Grace replied. Inside the building, Jack and Master came into an empty lobby. Master gave a signal for Jack to be silent. He then pointed at the door to the left of the lobby to let Jack know they would be using that door. There was a large opening on the right. Jack peeked out that opening and saw a huge hall. At the far end were the stairs to the upper floor. It would be an easy reach if not for the other things inside this hall. Around the hall were several huge mounds. At a glance, the mounds might be mistaken as heaps of refuse. But upon closer inspection, these mounds were wriggling. Jack then realized the mounds were the night hunters laying on top of each other. They just stayed there and rested. Jack felt goosebumps from the sight. The number of night hunters inside each of those mounds was worrying. He now knew his idea of slowly taking out the night hunters was an absurd one. Unless he used AoE abilities, it would take a hell of a long time to eliminate all those night hunters. Jack felt his shirt getting pulled. He looked back and saw Master signaling him with discontent. Master was frustrated because Jack didn't follow his instruction. Okay. Jack gave a signal saying he was coming now. The two crept to the door on the left. Master opened the door silently before going in. Jack followed closely behind. Beyond the door was a long corridor. Jack saw several intersections along the front path. The corridor had several recessed sections with benches and cabinets. Master suddenly moved swiftly to one of these recessed sections. He signaled for Jack to do the same. Jack hid inside the one opposite Master. Master again signaled for Jack to be quiet. Jack then heard the sounds of something crawling. Several of them. The sounds seemed to come close to them. Jack was worried that they would be found out so soon after they just entered. Without his mana sense and radar, he could only rely on Master, and he didn't feel comfortable about it. Master gave him a sign to not move. Not long after, the sounds moved away. Master came out of hiding and signaled for Jack to follow. Jack very much liked to use his equipment-free stone and activated his own monocle, but he restrained himself. He continued following Master closely. Jack continued to follow Master closely. Despite his dislike for the ethereal, Master proved to be quite stealthy. Master was patient and cautious. He only moved when he was sure the path was clear. He watched all the red dots on his radar and memorized their movement patterns. Master's God-Eye monocle was special compared to the others. While Jack's one had the dots on different elevations all moving around in his two-dimensional radar, Master's one could be set to different elevation levels. He could set it so the radar only showed the ones currently on this level. He could also set it to show what's on the level above or below if there was any. In addition, his radar also worked as if sonar. The layout of the corridors around him was mapped out on his radar as he moved. In this way, Master wasn't confused by the red dots from upstairs. He could properly track the ones existing on this floor and thought of an effective route through these corridors with perfect timing to not bump into any of the wandering night hunters. It took them some time, but in less than 10 minutes, they arrived at the base of the stairs to the second floor. The two looked at the mounds scattered around the huge hall as they stepped on the first flight of stairs. Those mounds didn't move. They climbed the stairs stealthily. Arriving on the second floor, they found the floor setup was more or less the same. Hence, they took the corridor's path again. They continued sneaking up using this method. Jack wasn't aware of it, but Master had learned that the number of night hunters patrolling the corridors increased with each floor. The complexity of the corridors also increased. More intersections and more turnings. It began to look like a maze once they reached the 6th floor. Thus, the time it took them to sneak past increased with each floor they climbed. By the time they reached the stairs that led them up to the 10th floor, they spent almost 20 minutes on one floor. Master wondered if his monocle 8-hour duration was enough to let him sneak up to the 20th floor. He could use another equipment-free skill, but that would be wasting a precious and limited resource. When they arrived on the 10th floor, they noticed the setup was different. This time, the lobby only had one exit. No side door that led to the maze of corridors. Jack peeked out of the lobby. It was similar to the huge hall from the other floors, with many night hunter mounds scattered across the hall. But the hall here was even larger, considering it also took up the space where the corridors were downstairs. "Seems like we have to fight our way," Jack whispered. Master didn't disagree. One thing he noted about this faction was its excessive obsession with games. It probably set up the floors down there following gaming rules that gave trespassers the chance to slip through as long as they were careful or lucky enough. But here on this floor, the pretense was stripped. It was pure security. The trespassers would have to fight through these night hunters. He wondered if the floors after this one were the same. Master turned to Jack and asked, "You are an archmage, aren't you? Have you gotten the invisibility spell?" "What a coincidence. I got it just before I came to this place," Jack answered. "We are in luck then. Use one of your skill-free stones to cast invisibility," Master instructed. "What about you? You are not an archmage?" Jack asked. Master answered by bringing out a new tool that Jack hadn't seen before. The tool was item-free stone. However, the items that could be used with this stone are only consumables. So, an artifact like the Necronomicon was inaccessible. Master used the item and a magic scroll materialized in his hand. The magic scroll contained the invisibility spell. "TSK. You and your tools," Jack commented. "I will go first. Give me a 1-minute head start. It will be a problem if we bump into one another because we can't see each other and ends up ending our invisibility in the middle of the hall." "Don't you have mana sense?" Master asked. "No, my mana ability is also sealed," Jack answered. "Sealed? How?" Master asked. "Didn't you say you punched me with mana manipulation during the first sacrificial round?" Jack didn't want to waste time explaining to Master. He distanced himself from Master before using his skill-free stones to cast the invisibility spell. He vanished after the spell formation was completed. Master followed Jack's instruction and waited 1 minute before he activated the magic scroll in his hand. He also vanished. After a few minutes, Master had sneaked through to the other side. Since he didn't see Jack, he whispered, "Are you here yet?" "Oh, I was waiting for you," Jack's voice was heard. "I thought your slow ass needs a longer time." "Cut the crap. Let's head upstairs while our invisibility is still working," Master said. "We might need this invisibility for the next floors as well." "All right, I will go up first," Jack said. "Wait 5 seconds before you go up. I will take the right side of the room. You take the left." Upstairs, Jack found that this lobby had a side door the same as the floors before the 10th floor. After several seconds, he heard Master's whisper. "Using the corridors will take too long. Since our invisibility is still active, let's just go through the hall as we did downstairs. You go first." Jack complied. They continued crossing through the halls while being invisible. They cut down a significant amount of time compared to if they used the corridors. Jack made a rough calculation. If they were fast enough, they should be able to reach the 16th or 17th floor while being invisible. Master's invisibility should be level 1 since he was using a magic scroll, but it was only 3 minutes fewer than his level 4 invisibility. On the 14th floor, Jack was distracted by a nearby mound since he was taking the shortest route possible. A night hunter happened to twitch during its rest and its arm flailed in Jack's direction. Jack hurriedly jumped back. If that arm touched him, his invisibility would disappear. As he did, he heard a gasp and the sound of some steps moving away. Jack turned back and saw nothing. Jack resumed heading to the stairs. "Crop a euro," Jack uttered in his mind. "What's wrong?" Peniel asked. "You know what that means just now?" Jack asked. "What?" Peniel didn't quite catch Jack's meaning. "That asshole has mana sense," Jack said. "Are you sure? He always called you out before the stairs and at the lobby to make sure about your position," Peniel said. "He is pretending. He doesn't want me to know he has the ability," Jack said. "But he is not a martial artist," Peniel said. "One doesn't truly need to be a martial artist to utilize mana, especially in this world rich with mana," Jack said. This reminded Peniel. Many high-grade natives of this world also had mana sense and mana manipulation even when they didn't know martial arts. She herself had mana sense even if not too proficient. She had spent too much time with players that she got used to associating mana abilities with martial arts. Jack thought perhaps Master was similar to John, who was not good when learning martial arts but excelled in learning mana sense and mana manipulation. Master probably self-taught himself after seeing Long and Wong exhibited these abilities. Jack was crestfallen by this revelation. Aside from his speed, the other things he could exploit to beat Master were his martial arts and mana abilities. If Master had mana abilities as well, this put his already few advantages even more limited. Even so, he felt lucky he found out about this now rather than later. It would be a disaster if he only found out during a critical moment when he was fighting Master. He wondered if Master could also do mana manipulation. As Jack had predicted, they managed to reach the 16th floor in less than half an hour since they started using invisibility. Jack still had enough duration to go up another floor, but Master's spell had less than 3 minutes left. Jack told Master that he could go up first and waited for Master up there. Master replied that they needed to stay together. If fighting occurred, he needed Jack to take care of the melee confrontation. Jack was just joking. If he went up first, what if Master decided to stay back and let Jack do all the work? Master originally wanted Jack to go after the main node alone. He came along because Jack forced him to, so Jack had to keep him close. They communicated using whispers and took the side door to enter the maze of corridors. It took a few seconds for Master's God-Eye monocle to do its sonar magic and map the corridor's layout around him. But he could see the red dots from the start. The number of night hunters roaming around this floor's corridors was alarming. After spending several seconds pondering and studying the red dots' movement pattern, Master touched Jack and ended their invisibility. This further proved Master's mana sense ability. Master probably knew his secret was revealed when Jack almost bumped into him on the 14th floor. There was no need for him to pretend anymore. Jack thought the reason Master needed to end their invisibility was so Jack could follow him properly. Jack had no mana sense at the moment, and it was not practical to keep on using whispers to communicate. However, Master instead signaled for them to return to the lobby. Back in the lobby, Master whispered to Jack, "The corridor pathway is getting too complicated and there are too many patrols. If I am alone, I should be able to sneak past with enough patience. But with 2 people, the difficulty increased significantly." "Then what do you propose?" Jack asked. "I bet before we reach the top, we will encounter another floor with no corridor pathway," Master replied. "When that happens, we will need to use invisibility to pass through the hall again unless you want to fight those night hunters." "But the spell is still on cooldown," Jack reminded. "Even if we activated the spells using tools, the cooldown system still applies." "Who do you think you were talking to?" "Of course, I'm aware. The cooldown of invisibility is 3 hours. With how complex the corridors are, I suspect it will roughly take us the same time to sneak through the remaining floors. Doing that has a very high risk of us getting found out, so I suggest we wait here until the cooldown ends." Jack thought about Master's suggestion. It made sense. He just didn't like waiting and doing nothing, but he guessed it was better to be prudent. He agreed to Master's plan. They waited inside the lobby. The 2 sat on opposite sides of the lobby. They didn't talk to one another. Jack would love to practice mana manipulation or his sword art while waiting, but he couldn't because the first was sealed while the latter might cause noise and attract the night hunter's attention. So he just spent his time meditating and practicing the sword's heart. Jack opened his eyes and peeked at Master. That guy seemed to also be meditating. Jack wondered if that was the case. He couldn't know for sure since he had no mana sense at the moment. After 3 hours passed, Jack took out another skill-free stone while Master took out another item-free stone. Another magic scroll appeared in his hand. "You have a lot of those, huh?" Jack asked. Master didn't respond. He activated the scroll and vanished. Jack used his stone and cast the invisibility spell. Now that he knew Master had mana sense, he didn't need to ask Master to wait and let him go first. Master would take care to avoid bumping into him. The same as he did on previous floors, they passed through the hall without alerting the night hunters. They continued until they reached the 19th floor lobby. One more floor, Jack thought. In this lobby, Jack saw that there was no side door. This lobby was the same as the one on the 10th floor. The only path was through the large hall. Master's prediction had been correct. His invisibility spell was still halfway through its duration. There was plenty of time, so Jack walked through the hall without rushing. He took care to not make a mistake when he was so close to his destination. The stairs to the 20th floor were already in front of him. He was about to step onto the first step of the stairs when he bumped into what felt like a solid wall. He reeled back from the collision and saw that a layer of bluish light appeared around the stairs. "Ba euro barriere euro?" Jack muttered. Due to the collision, his invisibility ended. He heard growling voices. He turned and saw the night hunters from various mounds staring at him with hostile eyes. The night hunters didn't waste any time once they realized an intruder was in their lair. The closest ones lunged out of the mounds. Some that were more deeply stacked inside the mounds clawed their brethren on top of them, trying to claw their way out. They hissed and shrieked, making a cacophony of voices that eerily sounded very much like humans but also not. Jack had known that these night hunters had a rather fast crawling speed from the last time he fought them. But it turned out they were faster. When he fought them inside the house with Grace and Spring Crown, the hunters didn't have much space to develop their speed. Different from then, this hall was large. Once the night hunters separated themselves from the mounds they were in, they crawled toward Jack and developed faster speed the longer they crawled. Jack didn't dare to engage them directly when they came barreling at him with such speed. He jumped to the side and rolled on the ground. At the same time, he fished out 3 equipment freestones and equipped 3 out of the 7th Hemisphere Royal Battle Armor. His head, upper body, and lower body were now covered in glamorous armor. With the 2 short swords in both hands, he lunged at the group of night hunters that had just stopped their charge. His 2 weapons danced among the night hunters, slashing and slicing as he moved in their midst. Unlike the battle in the house, this place had enough space and he didn't have to prevent the night hunters from getting past him, so he was free to move as he wished. His 8-diagram illusory steps let him move fluidly among these hunters while his formless flowing sword style cut them whenever he passed them by. He didn't have mana sense, but his improved sword's heart let him translate all input from his traditional 5 senses and responded accurately using his swords. Each of his slashes cut into the night hunters' necks. Most of these slashes scored critical damage. The night hunters weren't durable monsters. They were easily killed. After just a short time since they started clashing, around 10 dead night hunters were already down on the floor. Yet more and more came. The ones Jack had killed were not even a fraction of the number within this hall. Without any skills or buffs, he couldn't completely dodge all the attacks just by relying on his movement art. Some of the night hunters managed to hit him. His 3 armors mitigated the damage. Normally, a shield was broken with 1 clean attack. This time, even if it was clean, the shield was just cracked. As Jack received more hits, the cracks were getting worse. After 6 hits, one of his shields was finally broken. That shield was able to sustain so many hits all thanks to his royal armor's high defense. If it was any other player's armor, their shield could probably defend mostly 3 hits. Jack tried his best to not get swarmed. He kept moving away from where the night hunters were overcrowding, but that was difficult to do without mana sense. Penuel tried to help by giving him warnings about incoming attacks from his blind spots, but there were too many. He couldn't do much even with those warnings. Many times he almost got surrounded and he had to brute force his way out. This was the time when he received the most hits. His Themisphere King Scale Pants could automatically heal 30% of his health point when his health point fell below 50%. So, when he lost another shield, his pants automatically recovered one of his shields. Still, as the battle continued, he couldn't help but lost that shield again. Not long after, his last shield also cracked. He quickly used 1 shield protect stone to avoid getting any more damage. During the time he was invulnerable, he used 2 adhesive bandages to recover the 2 lost shields. Damn it! I can't go on like this, Jack said to himself. The best spell he could use right now was the Perpetual Lightning Judgment. That spell would nicely obliterate this swarm of night hunters. However, to cast the spell, he needed to equip a magic staff first. Most offensive spells required a magic weapon to cast because they required the damage count from the weapon to calculate the spell's damage output. He only had 1 equipment-free stone left. He wanted to save it for his Stormbreaker. He took 1 skill-free stone out. He was ready to use Lightning God Barrage. The divine skill didn't cover as much area as the Perpetual Lightning Judgment, but it should still reduce the enemy number by a huge portion. But before he used the stone, he heard Master's voice. Don't waste that on your offensive skill. Jack then saw the air on one side of the hall getting distorted. Energies of lightning, ice, and fire filled that space. These energies then swept across the hall with terrifying force. The night hunters were still attacking Jack. He didn't dare to be careless. He activated the skill-free stone and used his best defensive skill, the lightning god suit. Lightning covered his entire body and electrocuted the night hunters close to him. The lightning god suit protected Jack until the elemental flood arrived. He felt himself getting swept in this torrent of energies along with the night hunters. He saw them get electrocuted, burned, and frozen at the same time. He was experiencing the same thing as the night hunters, tumbling around helplessly within this elemental flood. However, his shields were completely fine. This was because the current spell was cast by a teammate. When the elemental flood receded, he looked around the hall. All the night hunters were laying on the floor, unmoving. Jack knew Master's intelligence stat was insanely high and these night hunters were not that durable, but he wondered if he could have survived the spell just now with only 3 pieces of armor and the lightning god suit. He couldn't properly gauge the spell's power without his mana sense. What the hell is that spell just now? Jack asked Penuel in his mind. That is Sea of the Elementals, Penuel answered. It is the spell from the Elemental Master class. Master's Elemental Master has reached level 70. Jack saw Master near the stairs to the upper floor. He was holding a magic staff in his hand. The magic staff lasted only 5 minutes. Master didn't plan to waste it. He pointed the staff at the barrier surrounding the stairs and cast Cancel Magic. The barrier broke. Took your sweet time to help, Jack said to Master. I was conflicted about whether I should just let you die, Master replied. But I figure we still have one more floor. I'm unsure of the threat above, so keeping you around serves my purpose. Damn, that's brutally honest, Jack thought. Let's go. My staff can only last a few more minutes and I have only 2 skill-free stones left. Master started climbing the stairs. Jack first used another adhesive bandage to recover his shield so that he was back to having 3 full shields. He then followed Master upstairs. When they arrived at this topmost floor, they were stupefied to find the entire floor was a large open empty hall. There was no lobby, no corridor maze, no night hunter mounds. It was just a big large space with nothing in it. Euro, did you make a mistake in reading the position of the main node? Jack asked Master. Because if this is a mistake, it is not an excusable one. We spent hours and fought like hell to get up here. Not to mention wasted our resources. I don't make Euro, Master replied. He took one of his 2 remaining skill-free stones and used it. A third ominous eye appeared on his forehead. It's not invisibly a euro, he muttered. A euro I don't understand. It should be here. Serves you right for acting like you know it all, Jack scolded. We have been had. If you are sure the location is correct, then this building probably has a hidden basement. Damn it. Now we have to go all the way down back to the ground floor. Master was unwilling to believe it. Were all the securities preventing them from coming up here just distractions? Was the main node instead hidden under a secret basement? Jack was about to head back down when Master shouted, Wait! What? Jack asked annoyingly. That protrusion over there, Master pointed. With his demonic true eye, his vision range increased. Without his dragon eye, Jack couldn't make out far objects. What about it? Looks like a simple pillar in the wall. Do you see any other pillars around this place? Master asked. Jack looked around. Master was right. The other parts of the wall were devoid of any pillar or protrusion. Only the one Master pointed near the far corner had this feature. Jack agreed it might be something noteworthy or it might not. Anyway, he thought it was worth it to go check. They were already up here after all. Let's go see it, Jack said. The 2 started walking toward it. When the 2 reached midway, the building started to shake. They also heard a rumbling sound. What is Euro? An earthquake? Jack asked. Master had no answer. The shaking stopped. The 2 stayed at their spots for a few seconds, checking if there were any changes to the hall. It looked the same. When the 2 were about to resume walking, the floor in front of them suddenly exploded. They instinctively jumped back as debris flew all over. A giant monstrosity then filled their views. The floor in front of them now had a huge hole. From the hole, a mass of a wriggling giant emerged. It was a blob with arms. Upon closer inspection, Jack realized the blob was formed of a heap of night hunters. It was like the mounds he saw on the lower floors, except larger and moving. The night hunters forming the blob were alive. They flailed their arms around and made weird noises, but they couldn't detach from each other. It was like they were glued together. This blob was coming for Jack and Master. It lifted one of its arms high and slammed down. Jack and Master jumped to opposite sides as the arm slammed into the floor, cracking it. "Final boss," Jack uttered. He was both dismayed and glad at the same time. Dismayed because they had to fight this giant monster with limitations. Glad because if there was a final boss, it meant they didn't come to the wrong place. Master used his last skill-free stone. Earth pillars came out around the blob and converged on it. Earth Prison WYRM. Jack recognized the divine skill. The blob was not fast, so the pillars didn't need to go into their WYRM form. The pillars hit the blob and started to encase it. But as it happened, the glue that held the night hunters seemingly came off. The night hunters separated from the mass while the rest was trapped inside the Earth Prison. These night hunters then came together and entangled each other, forming another blob. It was half the size of the original, but still intimidatingly large nonetheless. "Damn it! Give me one of your skill-free stones," Master shouted. "I have no more." Jack didn't ponder long. He threw the stone. At this time, it was better to work together. "Keep it busy." Master caught the stone and started moving away from the monster. "Shit. Is he going to let me fight by myself again?" Despite not fully trusting Master, Jack stayed his ground. When the second blob approached Jack, he used a skill-free stone. 20 large lightning balls appeared and struck the blob. The lightning explosion covered the monster's entire body. But when the lightning energies dissipated, he found that the health point bar above the blob only reduced by less than 5%. "This is going to take some time," Jack said dejectedly. Jack continuously retreated as the blob came for him. His speed was faster, so he could afford to kite the monster. He made sure to not retreat in Master's direction. He saw Master start forming a spell formation. It was a mega spell. Master probably didn't want to waste the last minute of his magic staff. Jack was thinking if he should use the limiter off stone, but the main node was not in sight yet. If he wasted his most precious resource and found out later that the main node was not here, it would be tragic. He decided he at least have to try out the other cool thing he found in the stash room. He took out a capsule case and opened it. The RPG launcher appeared in his hands. He aimed at the incoming blob and opened fire. Unfortunately, it didn't go as Jack hoped it would go. Jack aimed at what seemed to be the blob's head because he thought that might be its weak point. The blob simply ducked when the RPG came. This RPG didn't seem to have tracking ability, so it just went past the blob and struck the ceiling. A huge explosion happened and Jack saw a large hole appeared in the ceiling. Jack was surprised by the hole in the ceiling. When he used his lightning god barrage, the explosions were large and they hit the floor the blob was standing on. But the floor was just fine. Does this mean this RPG is even more powerful than my divine skill? Jack thought. He missed, but he still had another ammo. He took the other ammo out from the other capsule case and loaded it into the launcher while running away from the blob. Seeing that its current prey was just too slippery, the blob changed its mind and headed to the other prey who seemed to be stationary. "Oh crap!" Jack uttered and was about to head back to draw the blob's attention. But he didn't need to, because Master had finished his casting. The speed of Master's spellcasting was irrational. He used a normal 1 rune at a time casting, but his speed rivaled Jack's multi-rune casting. 3 large eastern dragons of 3 distinct elements burst out from the completed spell formation. The 3 elemental dragons rushed to the blob. The dragons were too fast for the blob to dodge. Additionally, the dragons were as if alive. They would just fly back if they missed the first time. The fire and ice dragons bit the blob's 2 arms, while the lightning dragon bit what seemed to be its head. The 3 dragons formed a chained reaction which resulted in an elemental explosion. When the explosion ended, Master noticed that his mega spell also drained less than 5% health point from the blob. "This is going to take some time," Master said the same thing as Jack. Give me another skill-free stone. Euro, what are you doing? Jack had run to Master's side when the blob was incapacitated by Master's dragons. He now placed the bear trap from the stash room on the floor. What can that small trap do against that large monster? Master ridiculed. You underestimated this place's tools. I think some of them are made to be even more powerful than our skills. Jack had finished arming the trap. The blob was now heading to them as well. Move back, but keep a straight line between this trap and that blob, Jack instructed. Thankfully, the blob was oblivious to the small trap in front of it. The blob was not walking with legs because it didn't have any. It was slithering on the floor, so there was no chance it won't touch the trap as long as it was moving on top of it. A sharp clicking sound was heard when the blob's slithering belly hit the bear trap. When Jack saw the blob stop moving, he exclaimed triumphantly, "Ha! See how you dodged this one now." Jack was ready with his RPG launcher. This was his last RPG, so he had to make it count. Different from before, this time he aimed it at the blob's belly, near where the bear trap was. The RPG hit the blob this time. The explosion from the collision wasn't as impressive as his lightning god barrage, nor was it as spectacular as Master's mega spell, the Trielemental Dragons. However, the RPG's result beat the two seemingly more powerful skills. The blob's belly part that was hit by the RPG exploded into a huge cavity. The night hunters forming that part of the belly was ripped out due to the explosion, and they fell lifelessly around the blob. The blob didn't lose any health point. No damage number appeared above the blob. However, its health point bar shortened significantly. It was now only 2/3 from before. The RPG had reduced the blob's max health point instead of reducing its health point. The effect was not only a reduction of max health point. The blob now rearranged the night hunters in his body mass to cover the cavity. This resulted in the blob becoming smaller and weaker. Jack celebrated the result. At the same time, he was pitying the waste of the first RPG. If both of them hit the blob, the monster would be down to only 1/3 of its original health point and become even weaker. Jack didn't let himself dwell in the past. What's done was done. He was about to use another skill-free stone and engage the blob when something drew his attention. Hey asshole, what does the main node look like? Jack asked Master. At the same time, he shifted to the side. Master planned to ignore Jack since Jack called him an asshole, but Jack's next words caused him to be unable to do that. Is it a large black box covered by glowing runes? I don't know about it being a black box, but yes, it will be covered with glowing runes. How do you know? Master asked Jack. At the same time, he traced Jack's gaze, which was on the hole in the ceiling. He saw a part of something that had a glowing surface. He shifted his position to where Jack was, and the glowing thing was better seen from the hole. It was as Jack mentioned. A tall black box that has glowing runes covering all its surfaces. That is the main node, Master exclaimed. He was not wrong. The main node was indeed up here, except it was not on the top floor but on the roof. That pillar he saw at the corner of this hall must be hiding the stairs going up to the roof. What should we do with that main node? Simply destroy it, Jack asked. Yes, Master answered. Okay, here's what you asked for. Jack threw Master a skill-free stone. He then used the limiter-off stone. The blob had finished rearranging its body. It was now moving toward the two again. With the restrictions off, Jack's body was fully covered in full armor. Stormbreaker and the mana leech staff were in his hands. He transformed into supreme dragon form. Take care of yourself, Jack said to Master and flew toward the ceiling before the blob arrived. Master looked at the skill-free stone that was given by Jack. Humph! He harumphed and threw it to the floor. Now that the main node had been located, there was also no need for him to hold back. He used his limiter-off stone and re-equipped all his armor and weapons. Master cast 2 spells simultaneously using his 2 magic staffs. Both were cast extremely swiftly. One of the spells was telekinesis. The blob which was about to strike Master using its arms suddenly found itself unable to move. Master's intelligence stat was so high that his telekinesis was able to contest the strength of this large monster. With his telekinesis holding down the blob, he could peacefully complete his other spell, which took a slightly longer time. The spell was Gravity Field. A black ball appeared next to the blob. This black ball released massive gravity that made the blob unable to move. Master then cast another spell, Teleportation. He disappeared and reappeared up on the roof. At the same time, Jack was already up there. The limiter off stone lasted only 1 short minute, so he had to make every second count. Jack first sent a sword of light to gauge the main node's defense. The crescent light struck the main node, causing a damage number and an health point bar to appear. It lost less than 1% from that attack. No barrier, Jack muttered, but its defense was very high. It might take them longer than 1 minute to deplete the health point bar. He decided to try using the grenade from the stash room. Perhaps this item had a similar effect as the RPG. He removed the pin and threw the grenade to the floor right next to the main node. It soon exploded. The result was seen instantly. Numerous cracks were seen along the black box's surfaces. Jack used Wind Slash. The damage the main node received was much higher than before. "Time to go all out," Jack exclaimed. He activated Stormbreaker's over limit, then called out his spirit weapon and their ass. He commanded his spirit weapon to use its finishing mode, and he activated the ultimate beast on their ass. He then cast Orb of Storm before following up with Perpetual Lightning Judgment. His divine skill was still on cooldown since he used them recently, so he had to settle with an alternative lightning attack. The Orb of Storm powered up his Perpetual Lightning Judgment. With his mana manipulation back, Jack controlled all the lightning snakes from the spell and directed them toward the main node, turning the spell into a concentrated attack instead of an area assault. At the same time, he fired Soul Breath, and Thurass unleashed its Earth Core Bomb just as the spirit weapon detonated. Master didn't stay idle. As someone who knew most of the game mechanism, he was also aware of the damage boost from combining explosive attacks. He adjusted his castings to synchronize with Jack's timing and delivered 3 attacks. The first was the upgraded version of Warlock's Hellish Explosion. Master had used a high-grade seed and evolved the spell into Final Explosion, which delivered a much higher damage output. The second spell was also an evolved spell, Exploding Fireball. This spell evolved from the Elementalist's Fireball, making the spell more powerful and dealing AoE damage. The third assault was his Wind God Blades. The 3 assaults landed at the same time as Jack. Jack was astounded when he saw Master's attacks. Master could time his attacks so well with his own even when he didn't give Master any signal. The 7 attacks with 6 different elements landed on the main node at the same time. The glowing runes covering the main node shivered intensely as the main node was enveloped by brilliant yet chaotic lights. The force of the combined assaults burst in all directions. Jack had to move away when his mana sense warned him to not stay too close. Master did the same. When the light display ended, they saw the main node was no more. Several pillars of light appeared in various spots in the distance. Since they were on the roof of a high-rise, they had a good view of faraway places. At the same time, when these light pillars emerged, shining lines connecting these pillars could be seen. They lasted only a moment before all of them died down. The night sky turned to daylight. The illusion that was shrouding this high-rise building was gone. At the same time, Jack's mana sense also detected a change in the atmosphere. He knew then that the restrictions were off. He was now free to use all his skills and equipment even when the effect of the limiter off stone ended, which was in a few more seconds. Jack landed next to the hole in the ceiling. He looked inside the hole and saw the blob had turned into a sprawl of dead night hunters. He supposed when the main node was destroyed, the energy that supported these night hunters also vanished. Master was a distance away behind Jack. He was aiming his magic staff at Jack. He stayed in that position for a while, but then he decided to lower his weapon. Jack turned to him then. "So, you know how to find the exit of this place?" Jack asked. "Didn't I hear you say you can do that?" Master asked back. "I do. But I am interested to know how you plan to do it," Jack answered. The gigantic rune diagram we just destroyed has a particular node that serves as a place where its energies are channeled. If there is any portal that is linked to an exit, it should be in that node's vicinity. If I search around the place, I can use my monocle to detect the exit. I have to say, your monocle is truly something. Well, it is so your style to give yourself an unfair advantage against the masses, Jack said, to which Master replied with a scoff. I want to ask you something, Jack continued. I think you should know by now that the reason someone from this faction can create this dimension is by utilizing the divine heritage left by Goddess Joy. Do you have a way to deal with someone with that power? I do, Master answered. Okay, let's resume this truce between us and deal with this being who possesses the goddess power, Jack said. You know where we can find the one who has the divine heritage? Master asked. I know, Jack replied. I can't say I'm not surprised, Master said. Isn't the point of you coming here to prevent me from getting the divine heritage? Don't misunderstand. I still won't hand that divine heritage to you, but I also can't leave this place as it is, Jack said. This place has taken too many victims. I can't just leave the others trapped in this place, even if by doing so, ensuring that you will never get the divine heritage. There is also someone in this faction I need to save, and I can only do so by bringing down the one controlling this place. Master sneered. Your do-gooder's attitude truly disgusts me, but I guess I must thank that sentiment for once, since it allows me to get the divine heritage. Your ears must have malfunctioned. I said I won't hand you the divine heritage. We will see, Master sneered. By the way, when did you learn mana sense? Jack asked. Master didn't answer. I can understand now how you know about the hidden rune diagram in the sacrificial rounds. I might not be able to understand the rune diagram because I only sensed a part of it. I just considered them random flows of energy. But for you who know a rune diagram's mechanism, you can recognize it if you have mana sense. Even if you only sense a part of the diagram, you can identify it as what it is. Just like a friend of mine who can recognize a spell even if he only sees its partially formed spell formation. Master did not comment. Well, since you are in silent mode, let's just move on, Jack said. I can get us to the Nexus world. That is the base of this faction and also the most likely place that contains the exit of this dimension. You just need to show me the location of the node you mentioned earlier. I will wait for you down there with the others. Jack flapped his draconic wings and flew down. Master activated his bloodline power and used the demonic wings. He flew behind Jack. The others were still waiting down there. When they found that they could now access their equipment and skills, they knew Jack and Master had succeeded. Jack landed and deactivated his beast form. Holy so. You are truly the king of Themisphere? Stefan said. Jack was now fully wearing his regal outfit. I'm hurt by your skepticism, Jack said. You even have a cute familiar, Naomi said. With the restrictions lifted, Penuel was now able to come out of her hidden dimension. You are right. She is cute, Stefan said. He came to Jack and tried to nudge Penuel. Hey, no touching. Penuel slapped Stefan's finger away. She talks, Naomi exclaimed in surprise. You bet I talk, miss. Penuel talked back. Master landed then. He was also wearing a regal outfit. It was different from Jack's, but everyone could identify it as something that was only worn by a monarch. Stefan remembered then that Jack once told them that Master was the ruler of Liguritum. What should we do now? Grace asked. We are going to search for the exit, Jack said. He then turned to Master and asked, which way? Let's head out first, Master said. They walked out through the hole in the debris wall. Out there, Master took out a whistle and summoned his Qilin. Everyone oohed and awed over Master's distinctively looking steed. Jack let them marvel at Master's steed for a while before he took out his red whistle. With a smug face, he blew the whistle. Pandora burst out of the ground accompanied by a twisting flame. The heat from the flame forced everyone to move away. They then involuntarily moved another step back when an intensely fearsome aura hit them. They gazed at the fiery horse with wary eyes. Was that a steed? It looked more like a monster. A boss-type monster. Ma'am, they are friends. There is no need to scare them, Jack said as he climbed up the nightmare. A smug smile was still decorating his face. Humph, Master scoffed. Grace summoned her unicorn, which drew another gasp. Spring-crowned steed was also unusual. It was a giant fox-like horse with 3 thick tails. "I can't just let you 3 steal all the spotlights," Spring-crown said with a grin. "That's a fox mare," Penuel told Jack. "It is a unique grade steed." Seeing these summons, Jack took out his companion token and tried summoning Arlcard. He failed. "This is a separate dimension that blocked unwarranted passage," Penuel explained. "Thuras, Pandora, and I were a part of you while Arlcard was still an entity who roamed the world. That's why you can call us and not him." Jack figured it would be the same case as his royal agents. He won't be able to summon them. After seeing the 4 unusual steeds, the others were unsure about their feelings when they took out their whistles. They just stood there looking at one another until Master scolded them for wasting their time. They then summoned their steeds. Their mounts were only uncommon horses. 2 people were not summoning any steeds, Kramer and Windy. They were natives. They didn't have an inventory system. When they were trapped in this place, all their belongings were seized, including their steed whistles. They were until now still wearing the ragged clothes they wore before the restrictions were lifted. The difference for them was simply they could now use skills. Jack offered Kramer a lift, while Grace offered to take Windy. Kramer was a bit uneasy to accept Jack's offer because he felt extremely uneasy around Pandora. But Jack's outstretched hand gave him the courage to overcome the fear. He grabbed Jack's hand and climbed onto Pandora. "Follow me," Master commanded after everyone was ready. Pandora's fear aura was causing the lower-grade steeds to move too slowly, so Jack took to the sky and followed from above. While flying, Jack asked Penuel, "You said before that Pandora can pierce most barriers between dimensions, right? This means she should be able to help me escape this place." "I think she can. Do you want to give it a try?" Penuel asked. "But I don't think you can come back here safely. The entrance to this dimension, the mist, is enchanted. If you enter the mist again, even while riding Pandora, you will most likely find yourself chained inside the prison dungeon with all your abilities stripped again. So once you leave, don't think about returning. If you truly want to leave with this method, you can only take 1 person with you." Jack looked at the group that was galloping below. "No. Let's leave with everyone," Jack said. Jack and Master spent significant time destroying the main node of the gigantic rune diagram. It was almost sunset when they arrived at the place Master led them to. "This is the node where the outside energies are channeled to power the rune diagram we destroyed," Master informed when Jack landed near him. "If there is an exit, it should be near here. If you can locate it quickly, do it now." Jack looked at the dark sky. "Considering we have destroyed that rune diagram, we should not have night hunters roaming around at night anymore. Should we?" "I doubt it," Master answered. "The one in the high-rise building is a part of the main node defensive function. The ones that roamed the night are governed by a different mechanism." "Should we find a safe place and wait until tomorrow morning then?" Grace asked. "We better not," Master answered. "Why?" Stefan asked. He was not keen on facing those night hunters even when he was now geared with his equipment and was able to use all his skills. "If the exit is truly around here, then we have to do it tonight," Master said. "By my calculation, this place is included in the area that will be inaccessible when this pocket world shrinks once this day is over. I might have a way to brute force an exit, but it will be better if we use a proper door." "In that case, we have no time to waste," Jack said. "Okay, everyone, form a defensive perimeter around me." Jack called out Thuras to help the defense. He didn't know how long it might take him to search the exit, so he didn't call out his spirit weapon and wolves, which had a duration. Grace helped organize everyone to form the defensive perimeter while Jack sat cross-legged on the floor. Master frowned. Weren't Jack supposed to go search for the exit? Why was he sitting here? Spring Crown was also wondering the same thing, but he followed Grace's instruction with a smile. He was more fascinated than confused by Jack's actions. Jack closed his eyes and concentrated. After losing mana abilities for several days, it felt truly exhilarating to be able to sense everything the way he used to. His consciousness slowly separated from his body and floated out into the open. He focused his thought as he roamed around the place, magnifying the scope of his senses. The mana of this place was truly warped. It was not strange considering this was a constructed dimension. He slowly searched for the mana that smelled similar to the one that formed the links between the pocket worlds. He finally sensed a trace of it. He should be able to follow this trace to the exit. Master was indeed correct. The exit was nearby here. However, he also sensed something else. "Oh Hayuro, it seems I need to hurry," Jack thought to himself. Now that Jack could communicate with Penuel even when he was in the incorporeal state, he no longer needed to worry about his body when he was out. Penuel could warn him if something happened. This warning system went two ways. After receiving Jack's message, Penuel warned everyone, "The night hunters are coming." Master also saw the massive red dots on his radar. He was just about to warn everyone, but Penuel beat him to it. He wondered how Penuel knew about the incoming night hunters before his radar did. The others went into a ready position with their weapons equipped. Jack had given Kramer and Windy a set of armor and weapons from his large collection of equipment. Kramer was a melee fighter. He used a shield and a spear. Windy was a magic user. Jack gave him a rare-grade magic staff. Kramer, Thuras, Grace, Spring Crown, and Naomi stood in the outer perimeter. They were the first line of defense. Stefan, Winston, Tom, Windy, and Sadie stood in the inner circle close to Jack. Stefan was a hidden weapon specialist. He stayed behind Naomi, who was a berserker and ready to support her with his flying daggers. Winston was a bard. He played music using a flute that buffed allies with increased defense and health point recovery. Tom was a reaver. He was like Jason, who picked a staff during his basic class selection, mistaking it for a martial art weapon. The mistake continued and he went on the healer's path. Jason had the advantage of getting informed to convert into a melee class by choosing the Inquisitor class. Tom wasn't as lucky. He wasn't a social person and disliked asking others for information. He blindly chose an elite class and became a reaver. Sadie was an elementalist. She seemed to be a better and calmer player compared to the three others beside her. Master didn't move from his initial position. He was outside the defensive perimeter set by the others. The others didn't bother asking him to cooperate. Master watched his radar and moved to where the night hunters would first arrive from. He then started casting one spell after another in rapid succession. Everyone except for Grace and Spring Crown was flabbergasted when they saw a host of summoned creatures appear. It was as if a small army emerged around Master. The numbers on Master's side now surpassed the number of players forming the defensive perimeter. When the night hunters came into view, Master pointed forward. Led by the high demon summoned from his prime demonologist class, his minions rushed forward. The night hunters were vulnerable, but they packed a punch. It was not so obvious before because previously everyone's life was represented with shields. Now that everyone's life was back to using the health point system, it was clear that the night hunters would still only need 3 standard hits to kill an average level 65 players. The most troublesome aspect of the night hunters was their number. Their swarm was seemingly unending. Even though they were easy to kill, the dead ones were quickly replaced by the ones behind. With their high damage output, they gave Master's minions a run for their money. Master saw that his minions couldn't completely block the tide. Hordes of night hunters swarmed from the left and right sides where his minions didn't cover. He cast 2 spells using his left and right magic staffs. This again drew gasps from those who were not aware of Master's multiclasses. Master's right staff cast Meteor Fall while his left one cast Sea of the Elementals. Both were high-damaging spells that covered a wide area. Untold night hunters were annihilated by those 2 spells. "I don't think we are needed here," Stefan remarked. Master, however, wasn't as relaxed. This was because he saw more red dots approaching on his radar, and this next wave was coming from all directions. Master grimaced. He understood that the number of night hunters might increase with each night, but these were too many. No way the spike of difficulty from one night differed so much. Is this because we destroy the rune diagram? Something like an automated response. Master wondered, even with his minions and a large number of AoE spells at his disposal. He still couldn't stop hordes of enemies that came from every direction. Master warned the others. Spring Crown rearranged their defensive formation to cover the side opposite from Master's position. This was so they could better focus their defensive efforts. The defensive perimeter around Jack was now split into two halves. Master defended one of these halves while the others defended the other half. When Grace's group saw the sea of night hunters headed their way, many couldn't help but feel intimidated. The only ones who were still steadfast were Grace, Spring Crown, and Duras. Duras came forward and engaged the horde without fear. It used the oppressive wave, and all the night hunters in a large area in front of it were obliterated. It then used imperious pressure to stop other night hunters that tried to run past. Spring Crown began by using Weapon Storm. 63 copies of powerful melee weapons flew out and struck all the night hunters. Each weapon killed a night hunter with one hit. He then followed up by using the Weapons Festival. 9 melee weapons floated around him. All 9 moved in a way as if they were handled by 9 different players. None of the night hunters managed to get past him. Grace first cast the chain lightning she had learned from the Universal Technique book. The incoming night hunters were forced to stop their advance because a large number of their brethren in the front line were paralyzed by the spell. Grace then cast Armor of Ego and Mace of Selfishness. The Mace of Selfishness successfully struck a night hunter and killed it. Grace had max-leveled this skill. Every 2 levels added an extra target to the skill if it didn't miss. The mace proceeded to strike another night hunter. It continued without missing a hit and killed 15 night hunters. Grace used her body as a shield to block the night hunters that tried to get past her. With her exceptional defense and recovery, she was not worried about the night hunters' high damage. She split her unique grade long mace into 2 shorter maces and used her martial art, Phantom Beating Stick, to strike those night hunters back. The others didn't have the time to be impressed by those 3. They were busy trying to block the night hunter swarm and at the same time not getting killed. Kramer was a level 53 special elite native. His level was the lowest among the others. Luckily, with the restrictions lifted, he was back to having high health point, which was a native's characteristic. Hence, he was not immediately in danger. However, the side he was defending was the first to give in. Tom went forward and blocked the night hunters who slipped past Kramer. He first cast Soul Link at Windy, the other native in the group. With him sharing damage with a high health point native, he should be safe even if he suffered a few hits. He used his martial art, Eagle Claw, to grab the night hunters who got past Kramer and threw them back out of the defensive perimeter. "Do not give in, everyone," they heard Penul's encouraging voice. She also cast Healing Field where Kramer and Tom were, increasing the survival chance of the 2. Jack had found the exit point. He is currently working to open it. He just needs another 10 minutes. Working to open the exit? Master looked at Jack, who was still sitting on the floor. What exactly does he do? All his mana sense detected from Jack after Jack sat on the floor was a massive spike in mana. After that, nothing. It was as if Jack had stopped existing even when Jack was clearly still there. Master couldn't help but be bothered by Jack's unknown ability. His lapse of concentration allowed some of the night hunters to slip through. He cast Ice Wall and Chasing Arrows to stop those night hunters. The Chasing Arrows conjured arrows of pure energy that tracked targets. These arrows struck the night hunters that were blocked by the ice wall. However, a few night hunters survived and climbed over the ice wall. They were now in front of Jack. The others weren't aware that some night hunters had breached through Master's defensive line. Even Penul wasn't aware because she was busy healing the others opposite of Master's side. When Stefan, Winson, Windy, and Sadie, who stood the closest to Jack, noticed these night hunters. The night hunters were already dangerously close to Jack. The night hunters' claws were about to hit Jack when a shadow rushed in. In a split second, this shadow walloped the night hunters and sent them flying back. "Freddy a Euro?" Sadie called when he saw the one who had just saved Jack. "Focus on your side. I will keep him safe," Freddy told her. The last time Sadie saw Freddy insisted on remaining hostile to Jack. So, his appearance and his act of saving Jack just now surprised her. The fact was, Freddy remained steadfast in his belief that Jack was trying to trick them. That was until he found out he could suddenly use his equipment and skills again. He knew then that Jack might just be telling the truth. He had been trying to find Jack's team since then. If Jack was honest that he could escape this place, he didn't want to miss the chance. While he was searching around using his rare-grade steed, he saw something fly in the faraway sky. Something that left a fiery trail. He decided to follow that flying object. That flying object was Pandora. When he came near where the flying object stopped, he noticed the group fighting against hordes of night hunters. Some night hunters rushed past him not far away on his left and right, but they mostly ignored him. It was almost like these night hunters were fixated on Jack's group. Seeing this scene, he was more convinced that the group must be his best chance of escaping this place. So he stopped hesitating and rushed in to provide help. Freddy was a level 66 druid. He was the same as Tom, who ended up with a healer-type elite class. Although he was imprisoned in this realm pretty early, he was never killed throughout all the games he participated in, so he didn't lose any level. Additionally, during the waiting time between the games, he was permitted to use the training dimension. He was not that interested, but there were only so many things to do in this place to kill his boredom. That's how he managed to keep up with the level of the average players in the world outside. Freddy cast Summon Treyant. 2 large Treyants came out and protected Jack's 2 sides. Freddy served as the last line of defense. With his help, the others had less pressure. His Treyants served as solid blockades while his martial arts covered those who slipped past the Treyants. Even so, as time passed, the pressure returned. The night hunters just seemed unending. Most of everyone's skills and spells were on cooldown. They mostly fought using standard attacks and basic skills. This caused the difficulty to increase. They couldn't block the swarm as effectively. They even suffered damages continuously. Grace, Penuel, and the other healer-type players worked hard to keep everyone alive. Seeing the urgency of the situation, Master used his regal outfit's set ability, which was similar to Jack's judgment of past kings. Master's was called the punishment of past rulers. One by one, the past rulers of Liguridium appeared and delivered their strongest attacks, killing the night hunters en masse. The others were speechless by such a power. Why didn't you use this earlier? Some complained in their minds. The truth was, Master had no intention to go all out, certainly not for Jack's sake. He was still unable to understand the point of protecting Jack, who only sat and did nothing. With the passing of each minute, he felt like he was wasting time here. Perhaps he should just go his way and search for the exit his way. It's almost 10 minutes. How much longer does that fool need? Master grumbled. I said 10 minutes. This is not yet 10 minutes, so I'm early. They heard Jack's voice. They turned and saw Jack had risen. This way. Follow me. He didn't waste time. He knew the situation was urgent. Grace used the generosity of hope to heal everyone's health to full. She had saved this so that it was safer for them while on the move. It was difficult to protect everyone while moving. The generosity of hope gave everyone 1 free life. Jack opened the way by using his regal outfit's set ability, Judgment of Past Kings. Those who had never seen this skill were again awed when the past kings of Themisphere appeared one by one, decimating the night hunters and clearing the way for them. Everyone moves as one. Jack commanded. Grace, Spring Crown, protect the rear and make sure no one is being left behind. Uncle Freddy, watch our left side. Tom and Naomi, watch our right. Jack didn't bother giving Master any instruction. He knew the ethereal wouldn't listen. Leading the way, Jack activated Azura. He then used Swords of the Brave and Dances of the Brave. Accompanied by the golden swords, he cut his way through the night hunters who tried to block their way. Now that he no longer had any restrictions, his sword art, which was powered by mana manipulation and refined by the improved sword's heart technique, easily slayed any night hunters that stood in his way. Freddy was astounded by Jack's prowess. He didn't realize Jack was this powerful. His mana sense even told him that Jack's mana manipulation was top of the line, almost on par with him and the other old practitioners who had spent a lifetime training this ability. He wondered why Jack didn't use his mana manipulation when they fought on the first day. As Jack expected, Master had no intention of moving as a group. He flew above using his demonic wings and headed in the direction Jack had indicated. He instructed his summoned minions to move in the same direction while killing the night hunters, so these minions were still of help to the group. Flying above, Master's advance was unobstructed. He flew ahead of the group. He was still wondering where Jack intended to take them when he saw a silvery portal not far ahead. His god-eye monocle informed him that this portal was indeed the exit from this pocket world. Even though an escape was now visible, Master wasn't that thrilled. He was concerned about what Jack had done. Jack had never left his spot ever since he sat on the floor. How did he open this portal? Jack originally planned to only search for the location of the exit before going there physically with the others. But after being in close vicinity to the exit, he found out that his connection with the mana that formed the links allowed him a shorter time to activate the exit while he was in the incorporeal state. Out of this state, he might need half an hour to 1 hour to open the portal. Under the incorporeal state, he predicted he only needed 10 minutes at most. Hence, he decided to stay incorporeal even when the others were having trouble dealing with the night hunter's swarm. Master looked back at the group. This was a very good chance to eliminate Jack. He knew Jack would never leave those useless people behind. If he commanded his minions to go aid the night hunters, Jack would be in trouble. Alternatively, he could enter the portal first and use his expertise in rune diagrams to recluse the portal and probably even strengthen it. Jack would then be trapped in this place. But two things stopped him from doing so. Firstly, the lightning god blessing was still within Jack. He needed that divine treasure. If Jack was trapped here, so too was the divine treasure. Secondly, he also needed the divine heritage as a failsafe in case he was pushed to take drastic measures in the future. The other place where he could get this divine heritage was in Hope's faction, but he had no confidence in going against the natives of that faction. Hope was the strongest god. Inside his faction were also the strongest natives of this world. So, Master cast his spells, obliterating the night hunters in between Jack's group and the portal, clearing the way for them. Jack saw icicles rain from the sky in front of them. These icicles were like ice swords falling from heaven, impaling the night hunters and killing them with a single strike. That is Hail of Ice Calamity, a non-standard spell for Elementalist, Penuel said. Master also cast his standard spells that were off cooldown. In a short time, the path leading to the portal was filled with the bodies of night hunters. Go into that portal, Jack told everyone. He let the others go in first as he dealt with the night hunters that were still coming at them. Master commanded his still surviving minions to block the night hunters as everyone entered the portal. When Master landed next to the portal, Jack said to him, "To be honest, I half expected you to turn on us after seeing the portal. What are you going to do if that happens?" Master asked. "Oh, I'm confident that won't happen," Jack said. Master just glanced at Jack without giving a response. "Just as you find it easy to predict what I'm going to do due to my do-gooder personality, I also find it easy to predict what you are going to do based on your selfish and greedy nature. I know you won't let the chance to get the divine heritage slip your hands." Master simply harumphed at Jack's statement. He vented his frustration by using his spells to blast the night hunters around them. After Grace and Spring Crown, who were guarding the rear, entered the portal, Jack moved toward it as well. Master saw Jack's attempt and he cast Wind Jet. His body shot past Jack and he entered the portal before Jack. "So childish," Jack muttered and entered the portal, leaving Master minions that continued blocking the night hunters. Jack experienced the same feeling as when he entered a dungeon. He went through what seemed like a tunnel of light with his mana sense, sensing the familiar mana he had fused with when he was in the incorporeal state. He came out at the garden outside the Council of Cherite's mansion, which he had visited during his incorporeal state. The others were standing and looking around with confused expressions. "We are not yet out?" Freddy asked. "This is the Nexus world," Jack explained. "The main exit to the outside world should be here. We have to find it to escape this place." He then looked back, making sure the night hunters didn't follow them here. He didn't see anything that looked like a portal, but he could sense the doorway there. No night hunters appeared. It seemed that those creatures had no access to the pathway between worlds. Jack noticed everyone was still wearing their equipment. Good. There is no hidden rune diagram here that seals our abilities, Jack remarked. There is, Master said. But the function of the rune diagram in this Nexus world, and the one we destroyed in the Battle Royale world, is simply to maintain the enchantment that is placed on us when we first entered this dimension. Once the enchantment is broken, we will stay unsealed until we re-entered this realm. Great. This means we have a fighting chance. Let's go. There is still one person I need to save, Jack said. Hold, Master called. Against a being with God's power, we stand no chance even if our abilities are unsealed. If you truly want to go up against such a being and want me to succeed in giving us a fighting chance, you'll need to tell me everything you know. Why are we going up against such a being? I thought our primary focus is to escape, Sadie asked. We might need to defeat the being for that. Jack actually didn't know that, but since he didn't know for sure, he didn't exactly lie. Master didn't bother to disagree with his statement. Whether these people could escape or not mattered not to him. If we find the exit while exploring this place, then I promise those of you who want to leave can leave first, Jack said. Then, let's hurry and find the exit, Freddy said. He had mana sense. He roughly felt the links when he was on the way here just now. He might be able to identify and differentiate between the main exit and the portals to the other worlds within this dimension. The others said they want to search around the place as well, even if they didn't have mana sense or knew what exactly they were looking for. Before they left, Jack asked them to form a party with him. He also sent the party invitation to Master. Grace and Spring Crown stayed with Jack and Master. Master was still staring at Jack, waiting for an explanation. So Jack told Master most of everything Talia had told him. About what happened to this faction. About Euphysine, who had Joy's divine heritage and used it to create this dimension as a place to carry out her sick games. Master, Grace, and Spring Crown listened silently. After Jack finished his tale, Master asked, You spoke as if you have come here before a euro. You are definitely with us all the time. How do you learn about all this? Jack had omitted the part where he used his incorporeal state to come to this Nexus world. He didn't plan to let Master learn that he possessed this ability. Jack's silence showed Master that Jack had no intention to answer the question. Master knew he won't be able to force Jack to answer, so he didn't bother asking a second time. Master said, After hearing your tale, I assume you intend on saving this Talia. I have no intention to do that. You can do that on your own if you want to. How do you plan to deal with Euphysine? Jack asked. In his quest description, it said that he needed to resolve the situation in this faction to help Talia escape. That's why he decided to ask Master's help. He suspected Talia won't agree to escape if Euphysine situation wasn't dealt with. There was also the matter of the other prisoners participating in different games that Sadie mentioned. I will need to go to the altar Halieuro. They heard panic shouts when Master was still speaking. They turned to the voice and saw Stefan and Naomi run toward them. Chasing behind the two was a horde of living children statues. Jack remembered those children statues were the same ones as those decorated the garden and the main lobby of the mansion. Those living statues were chasing Stefan and Naomi with cute smiling faces and cheerful laughter, which made the entire scene eerily unsettling. What did you do? Jack asked the two as they ran back. We didn't do anything. We just tried entering the mansion to search for the exit from the inside, Stefan explained. These statues suddenly came to life and attacked us. Perhaps it is the defense mechanism of this mansion. Grace offered her opinion. She cast a healing spell on Stefan and Naomi. They had suffered damage from the statues. Jack used his inspect skill on those statues. Happy Dolls, Special Elite Monster, Magical, Level 65, Health Point, 350,000. They are just special elites, Jack said and dove into the group of living statues. He used Whirlwind Slash and Ice Ring, damaging them all. His formless flowing sword style danced around the statues. Now that Jack could use his full power, he easily dispatched these living statues. Stefan and Naomi were awestruck seeing the ease Jack took care of these monsters. They knew Jack was strong, but only now did they see the gap between them. They also understood Jack had not gone all out yet. The others were also running back. They were also chased by the children's statues from the other side of the garden. There are too many of them, Naomi exclaimed. We can still deal with them, Jack said confidently. He noticed some rare elites among the newly arrived horde of living statues, but not at an alarming number. As he was about to engage this new batch of living statues, he noticed the broken statues from the ones he had vanquished quivered on the ground. At first, he thought they were the same as the night hunters. They didn't vanish as the slain monsters in the outside world. Then, he saw these broken statues reform themselves and were back to full health again. Fuck! They are the same as the undying Draugr in the Sylvania. Jack cursed as he engaged the statues that came back to life. Yes, they are tethered puppets, Penuel agreed. To be able to tether with so many, I think only Euphysine can do this. What are you two talking about? Stefan asked. He and the others joined in combating the statues. We won't be able to defeat these statues no matter how many times we kill them. Jack gave them the bad news. Theoretically, we can, Penuel corrected. These tethered beings drew their life force from their master's energy. If they are continuously being killed, their master would run out of energy at one point, thus ending the cycle. How long will that take? Jack asked. Considering that Euphysine is powered by a divine heritage, you might need to fight for months, euro, or even years, Penuel replied. Might as well don't say anything, Jack thought with annoyance. This is pointless. I will leave you people to distract these things here while I do the important things, Master said. Do what important things? Jack asked. Preparing so we can defeat the one that holds the divine heritage. I will go to the altar hall, Master said as his demonic wings reappeared. His body flew up, leaving the battle on the ground. He then took out a scroll and vanished from sight. Invisibility scroll again, Jack thought. Having so many at hand, Jack figured Master must have created them using a recipe. Jack heard Master's voice from above. You should come with me. I hate to say this, but even with my trap, I might not be able to deal with Euphysine alone. I need to go somewhere else. There is something I need to do first, Jack said. Are you two leaving us here? Stefan asked with worry. We need to, Jack said. We can't waste our time fighting these things. They will just come back to live again. The owner of this dimension will realize something is wrong once she could sense the end match arena one day from now, a euro, probably less than one day. Master's voice was heard from above. He was still around. With so much disturbance we have created, I think she would sense it sooner rather than later. Plus, you people are killing her tethered beings. The amount of energy that was sucked from her, even if it was minuscule, should draw her attention after a period. We should treat it as if we only have several hours left. That's why we have to hurry. I will be leaving now. Do you know the way to the altar hall? Jack asked. Who do you think you were talking to? I have the layout of this mansion inside my head, Master returned. Jack sensed Master's presence move away in the direction of the mansion. I have to leave as well, Jack said as he cast Soar. Grace, Spring Crown, Uncle Freddy. Take care of everyone here. You will take us out of this place, won't you? Freddy asked. He had lost all hope for some time. Now that a tiny hope manifested itself, he wasn't willing to see it go away. He won't be able to continue fighting if that happened. Don't worry. I will bring you all out. That's a promise, Jack said. I believe in you, Your Majesty, Kramer shouted. He was fighting the living statues valiantly with his spear and shield. Don't worry. I will keep them all alive, Grace said to Jack. And I will try to not get bored fighting these same creepy things over and over, Spring Crown said. I hate to see you leave, but I guess it can't be helped, Stefan said. I'm sorry I can't be of much help, and thank you for giving a shit about us. No need to be concerned. You do what you need to do. Stefan decided to be brave about the situation. The others expressed the same sentiment. Thank you, everyone, Jack said, smiling warmly. I promise I won't let you all down. He cast invisibility. It had been more than 3 hours since he last used the spell. It was off cooldown. He then flew toward the manor's entrance. The happy dolls ignored him since they couldn't see him. Jack had been in this mansion before when he was using his incorporeal state, so it didn't take long before he arrived at the entrance of the dungeon that held Talia. No children statues inside the mansion. All of them had gone outside to deal with Grace and the others. Jack looked at the door of the dungeon. He was free to enter when he was in the incorporeal state. It was not so now that he was in his physical body. He tried to open the door. It was locked. He unsheathed his Stormbreaker and struck the door with it. No damage number appeared. "This one has a durability that far surpasses your power," Penuel explained. "I guess we have no choice but to use the thieving way then." Jack took out his lockpicks. He summoned his runestone of probability as he used the lockpicks. He failed multiple times. Luckily, it had been a custom for him to stock up on lockpicks, so he had them ready when needed. He spent several hours and wasted hundreds of lockpicks until he heard the melodious click. He only burned through 1/3 of his lockpicks for this door. "Either my lockpicking is getting too good or I have brought too many lockpicks," Jack said haughtily. The unlocked door opened and he saw Talia standing and looking in his direction. She had heard the sound of the lockpicking for quite a while and was wondering which thieving fool had blundered into this place. Now that Jack was here in person and could use his ability, he used his inspect. Talia, Mythical Elf, Divine Priestess, level 85, health point 1,800,000. Jack expected as much. She was one of the leaders of a divine faction. She was at Callan's level, which meant Euphysine should be around this level as well. Storm a euro. Talia couldn't quite believe her eyes. This was the first time she laid eyes on him outside his incorporeal state. "How a euro?" "Long story. We can talk when we are out of here. Let's get you out of this first." Jack brandished his Stormbreaker and slashed at the chains that bound Talia. "Wait a euro," Talia warned. But too late. Jack's sword clashed with the chains and an energy blast exploded from the point of impact. This blast threw Jack into the wall. Jack crashed heavily into the wall. He lost almost 30% of his health point from that blast. "Ouch, a euro, what the hell a euro?" Jack uttered as he got up. "A euro, you are quite durable," Talia said. "Other Outworlders at your level would have died. Can't you sense the mana in that chain?" Penuel slapped Jack's head. "This whole place is filled with weird mana. How do you expect me to know which is okay and which is dangerous?" Jack defended himself. "This chain is enchanted. It will retaliate if it is attacked," Talia explained. Jack came back to Talia's side. The chain was completely fine from his slash. There was not even a damage number appearing when he hit it. He then saw a keyhole at the part where the chain met Talia's handcuffs. "Still think you bring too many lockpicks?" Penuel derided. "Ugh, a euro, well, I believe I should not need more than what I used on the door." Jack encouraged himself. He took out his lockpicks again. "Excuse me, miss," Jack said to Talia as he inserted the lockpicks into the keyhole. He abruptly stopped and asked Talia, "Euro using lockpicks shouldn't be considered an attack, right?" "No, but I'm not sure if you can succeed. This lock is rather high-grade," Talia said. "Maybe you will have more luck if you go to Euphysine's chamber and looked for the key to this chain." "You don't think she brought the key with her?" Jack asked. Talia responded with a shrug. Jack thought maybe he should try his luck by searching Euphysine's chamber as well. A native had no inventory system, so there was still a chance Euphysine left the key behind. Jack cast Body Double. He then asked Talia to tell him the direction to Euphysine's chamber. He had his copy walked back to the hallways following Talia's direction, while his real body used the lockpicks to unlock the chain. For his 2 remaining copies, he sent one to the altar hall where Master should be and the other to the mansion's entrance to check on his friends. All the while, he had his mind focusing on his runestone of probability to boost the lockpicking success chance. With his 100 synchronous thoughts back in play, such multitasking was effortless. "I think I have said this before, but you have a strong mind," Talia said. She had been paying attention to the bright glow emitted by the runestone of probability floating beside Jack. The stronger the willpower injected into the runestone, the brighter it glowed, and the higher the lockpicking's success chance was. Even so, the lockpicks kept on breaking one after another. Jack didn't let the constant failures bring him down. He kept his mind focused. Since they had time now, Jack told Talia about what had happened. About the Battle Royale match, about how they broke the gigantic hidden rune diagram that sustained their restrictions, and how they found their way into this Nexus world. No wonder she has not been around for the past few days, Talia said about Euphysine. There were some days when she was completely absent. I guess that was when she was hosting her Battle Royale match. She shouldn't be back for a while, Jack said. You and I will be long gone when she is back. You don't plan to just leave, do you? Jack asked after noticing Talia's silence. Even if she has become like this, she is still my sister. I can't let her continue harming the innocents. I have to stop her. I guess as Muchiyuro, Jack said. Don't worry. We may have a way to defeat her. How? Talia asked. Even if she was determined to stop Euphysine, she didn't know how to. That outworlder I came here to warn you about, he is doing something about it, Jack answered. One of Jack's copies was currently in the hall where the altar was. He was watching Master, who went around the hall drawing a huge rune diagram using mana paint. Jack's other copy was in Euphysine's chamber. But since he was just a copy, he couldn't search around with his hands. He could only use his eyes. From what he could see, nothing in the chamber looked like a key. The chamber even seemed like it hadn't been used for quite some time. Jack guessed perhaps for someone who had gained the power of a goddess, sleep was no longer necessary, and so was a bedchamber. There was a cupboard, a dresser with a small chest above it, and a box draped with a cloth. These were things that might hold valuable things, but he couldn't do anything to them as long as he was a copy. His real self was at his last 100 lockpicks. He kept on thinking the next lockpicking would succeed and ended up spending several hours lockpicking Talia's chain. Since they entered this Nexus world, more than 5 hours had passed. He was not confident he could open the lock at this rate. Jack decided to stop the lockpicking and checked the things in Euphysine's chamber. I'll be back, he said to Talia. Talia then sensed the Jack in front of her became hollow. She knew then the Jack in front of her was just an illusion. After changing place with his copy, Jack's true body was now in Euphysine's chamber. His vision swept around the items of interest in the room. To his disappointment, none of those items registered as anything special on his God-Eye monocle. But that simply meant the cupboard, dresser, and small chest were nothing special. It didn't mean the items inside them were the same. He first pulled away the cloth that covered something that looked like a box. It was a box. Unfortunately, it was empty. He then opened the cupboard. Some clothes were inside. Just as how the room looked, it seemed that these clothes had been untouched for quite some while. Afterward, he went to the dresser and opened its drawers. They were mostly empty except for a few junk items. No key. He held the last item, the small chest. When he tried to open it, it was locked. Since this chest isn't classified with a grade, it is a normal chest, right? Jack asked Penuel. Yes. It might hold something inside or it might not. The content will always be the same. It is not a treasure chest or a lockbox which generates random items based on the chest or lockbox's grade. Which means there is still a chance the key we are looking for is inside here. It might, Penuel replied. If I force this chest open with brute force, the items inside might break? Correct, Penuel answered. Luckily, he still kept 100 lockpicks. However, he didn't know if the remaining 100 lockpicks were enough to open this lockbox. I hope this lock is not too difficult, Jack prayed. He started lockpicking with his runestone of probability hovering above him. After he broke 25 lockpicks, Penuel said, You know, if this small chest turns out to be empty, you would have wasted those lockpicks when you could have used them to try your luck opening Talia's handcuffs. Jack rolled his eyes in annoyance. Good job in giving me more things to stress about, Jack said sarcastically. He heard a successful click then. At the same time, he heard a notification, informing him that his lockpicking skill had increased to basic master. The lid to the chest opened and his monocle immediately marked 4 items of importance inside the chest. Jack's eyes were drawn to one particular item shaped like a key. Talia prison key, quest item. Open the lock to Talia's handcuffs. Bingo a euro, Jack exclaimed. He was glad that he hadn't spent all his lockpicks on Talia's chain earlier. His eyes were then drawn to the other 3 items. Those items were even more valuable in terms of grades. One of them was silver in color, indicating a unique grade. The other 2 were purple, indicating legendary grades. However, Penuel's eyes were more fixed on the unique grade item. She even flew over to pick the item up. "This is a great find," she said. "Runestone of spellcasting, unique runestone, empty. Required willpower to activate. Unique grade runestonia euro?" Jack muttered. A runestone could be upgraded to become a higher grade. For this runestone to start at the unique grade, it was indeed special. "Do you remember Haon's runestone of combat?" Penuel asked. "Yes. He uses that runestone to boost his attributes during combat. Wait, are you saying that this is also a runestone that can be used in combat?" Penuel nodded. Runestones that helped combat situations are extremely rare. Haon's runestone of combat and this runestone of spellcasting are one such runestone. This one will boost your spells if you use it during spellcasting. "Wow! This is indeed a great find," Jack exclaimed. "With this, my magic power will not be so behind my physical power." "You have to fuse with it first to use it," Penuel reminded. "We will do that later. We need to free Talia first," Jack said. He then looked at the 2 remaining items. They were legendary grade diamonds. These could be said as the best gemstones there were. Not only because they were legendary grades, but also because a diamond was compatible with all elements. They gave double elemental energies to every type of runestone. These diamonds would have been perfect to get the newly acquired runestone of spellcasting to be closer to the legendary grade. However, he knew he had one runestone that was even more essential than the runestone of spellcasting. It was his runestone of luck. This was one item that had helped him earn many bounties. If he could get it to the legendary grade, the benefit it could provide would multiply. Hence, Jack didn't hesitate. He took out his runestone of luck and fed the 2 legendary diamonds to it. 60,000 elemental energies flowed into the runestone of luck. It now had 68,150 elemental energies out of the 100,000 required to upgrade to the legendary grade. He was more than halfway now. "Okay, let's get back to Talia," Jack said and changed places with his copy again. Talia sensed that the Jack in front of her became real again. "Interesting spell," Talia greeted. Jack smiled as he fetched the prison key out. "You found it," Talia exclaimed excitedly. "Now let's get you out of this thing," Jack said. He inserted the key into the keyhole in Talia's handcuffs. A click was heard and the handcuffs magically disintegrated. The moment that happened, an earthquake shook the entire place. "What is these a euro?" Jack asked. "Oh, no a euro," Talia uttered. Her voice was tense. "Euphysine hid another enchantment in my chain. She knows now that I am free. She will be coming soon." "She will a euro?" Jack asked. His copy, which was in the altar hall, saw that Master was still drawing his rune diagram. The rune diagram he was drawing was very complicated, and he made it so it covered the entire hall, hence it took him hours for the task. Jack saw the rune diagram take shape already, but he was not sure how close to completion Master was. "How long before she arrives a euro?" Jack asked Talia. "I don't know. The world you mentioned that the battle royale is taking place sounds pretty large. She should need time to power it down before she can leave. I say a few minutes a euro or seconds." "That is not good a euro," Jack thought after hearing Talia's words. "Give me a moment," Jack said. Talia sensed Jack becoming hollow again. At the altar hall, Master was still applying the mana paint with precise precision. He had noticed Jack near the hall's entrance. He ignored him at first, but he then felt strange since Jack had been silent all the time. He didn't believe this chatterbox could afford to be a silent spectator. He had been expecting Jack to throw him some ridiculing remarks for some time now. So he used one of his bloodline powers, Demonic True Eye. He saw then that Jack was just an illusion. He fully ignored the copy afterward. Jack probably sent the copy to keep an eye on him. It made sense that Jack didn't trust him. An earthquake suddenly shook the hall. Master's brush stroke almost veered off course when it happened, but he was quick enough to affirm his footing. Master stopped drawing and waited until the earthquake was over. He knew for a fact that worlds in hidden dimensions didn't have natural earthquakes. This only happened when the power controlling the dimension was experiencing a jolt of energy or emotion. He knew then that his time was short. A voice soon confirmed his suspicion. Euphysine is coming. How much longer do you need? Jack asked. €50 no, 3 more minutes, Master answered. With that statement, he went back to his drawing. His drawing speed picked up. It was now speed over perfection. Jack didn't disturb Master further. He changed places back to the copy that was still with Talia. Jack said to Talia, "The trap is almost done at the altar hall, but we can't enter the hall yet for another 3 minutes, or else Euphysine will know what we are up to. We need to be close, though. Let's head over there first." Talia nodded. She wasn't sure what trap could be useful against Euphysine, but she didn't waste time asking for an explanation. Euphysine could arrive any second. The two moved through the hallways. Jack ran at full speed, but Talia had no trouble keeping up. She moved by hovering over the floor like Arlcard did. They soon arrived near the altar hall's entrance. Jack stopped. There was still around a minute before the 3 minutes Master advised earlier. "We can't go in yet €. I take it that since it was your freedom that triggered Euphysine's alarm, she will come for you first?" Jack asked. Talia nodded. "Yes, we 3 sisters have strong mental links. She knows my position at any time. She will come for me first. That's why it makes no difference even if I flee this place. She will be able to find me easily." "I see €. Hopefully she doesn't come for another minute," Jack said and cast barrier. "I don't think that will make a difference," Talia said. She suddenly went tense afterward. The air near them shimmered and an ethereal woman with a glamorous robe appeared. "I must say, I am not amused when I felt you break free from your restraint and after forcefully ending the control of my game. It is even more irritating to find that all my game participants are no longer in my arena." The voice brought the same chill as what Jack felt when he first met Euphysine several days ago. He couldn't perceive Euphysine at the time. Now he could properly see her. It turned out that the 3 sisters of the Council of Charites were not actual sisters. They were from 3 different races. Talia was elven. Agli was human and Euphysine was ethereal. "It's you again €. Euphysine lay her eyes on Jack. Jack felt the chill multiplied tenfold. Talia was right. His barrier couldn't do shit. "You are the newest favorite in my game. I've been rooting for you," Euphysine said. "I've been hoping you can dethrone that old fart as my new champion. I've been eager to watch that Hapina €, but I guess I will have to let you go. There are only so many times an owner may let her pet disrespect her." Talia sensed Euphysine's intention. She wanted to act first. She tried casting a spell. "Is there any point in doing that?" Euphysine asked with a ridiculing tone. Talia felt the air around her solidify. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. She couldn't even articulate mana properly. All she could do was just watch. When Euphysine turned her attention back to Jack, Jack used the last switch of his body double. He changed places with his copy, which was still inside the altar hall. All his copies disappeared afterward. Euphysine turned her sight to the entrance of the altar hall. Jack and Talia were heading that way, so Jack might have fled there. "After I eliminate that troublemaker who keeps on coming between us, sisters, I will bring you back to your room," Euphysine said. "Stay put in the meanwhile." Euphysine was not in a hurry. She just floated slowly toward the door. Her prey was trapped in her world. There was nowhere Jack could run or hide. She was happy to play hide and seek if that was what her prey wanted. When she entered the hall, she was surprised to see Jack just standing in the middle of the hall, waiting for her. She had expected Jack to run or hide. Perhaps the prey had given up? It's not fun this way. She felt another presence within the hall. She turned to where the second presence was. It was an ethereal. She then remembered this ethereal was another participant in her game. This ethereal was having his hands on the floor. Suddenly, the whole hall lit up. She was confused, but not alarmed at first. She even felt curious about what all this was. Then he felt something within her getting ripped. For the first time in so long, she felt what she used to feel. Vulnerable, weak, empty, and afraid. Master had just completed his rune diagram when Jack changed places with his copy. The rune diagram shone for a split second before becoming invisible. From Jack's alarming gaze, Master knew that Euphysine had arrived. He readied himself to activate the diagram's power. This rune diagram was not one originally within the game system. It was his creation. It was originally designed to extract the divine treasure from inside a player in case that player had fused with the divine treasure. Just like the case with Jack and the lightning god blessing. But after testing it, Master knew that this diagram was not powerful enough to do the job. The fusion was established by the game system. It was not something easily undone. Not willing to give up, this rune diagram became the basis Master used to design the machine that almost extract Leave Me Alone's fire god blessing. He used that machine in conjunction with this rune diagram to achieve the feat. However, unlike a rune diagram that could be utilized repeatedly, the machine was an alien entity and not something that could be placed inside a player's inventory. This rune diagram was practically useless without that machine until now. Euphysine couldn't fuse with the divine heritage properly because the game system never intended the divine heritage as a power source. Hence, this rune diagram could still work to separate Euphysine from the divine heritage that gave her godly power. What Jack and Master saw was a glowing orb floating above Euphysine. There was a thin thread linking Euphysine and the glowing orb. This thread became thinner and thinner until it was gone and the glowing orb was completely encased by the rune diagram's power. Euphysine was panting on the floor. Her face showed panic. Her voice was hysterical. "What a euro, what have you done a euro? What have you done?" she shouted repeatedly. Jack was about to take advantage by attacking Euphysine, who was rattled. He summoned Thuras and used Ultimate Beast. He was ready to do the combination assault, but the information from his inspect stopped him momentarily. Euphysine, mythical ethereal, divine priestess, level 90, health point 2,200,000, euro level 90 euro. Euphysine was even stronger than Talia. She was at the level of Pallas, the divine champion from the Council of Virtus. With almost 20 levels above him, Jack had no confidence to win even after Euphysine was stripped of her divine power. A yell jolted Jack back from his surprise. "What are you just eyeing her for? Attack a euro!" Master was already casting his spells. Behind him were a high demon and an angel which he summoned beforehand. The angel was not the lesser angel from Priest's spell. His priest had upgraded to a second-class special class, High Priest. Summon Angel was the first spell from this special class. Both the High Demon and Angel were also casting spells. Master wasn't surprised about Euphysine's level because he had known about it. Euphysine was the strongest among the 3 divine priestesses of this faction. Master was casting 2 spells. While casting, he activated an evolved version of Warlock's demonic possession, superior demonic possession. A chaotic aura enveloped his body. All the damage and range of his spells were now also boosted as long as the skill was active. One of his spells was completed. The spell was Final Explosion. At the same time, 20 wind blades lashed toward Euphysine. The high demon behind him cast Dark Implosion, which created a localized collapse of power that dealt dark damage. The angel cast Purifying Holy Light, which dealt light damage and weakened any buffs on the target. Snapped back into action by Master's yell, Jack also acted. He proceeded with his initial attempt. His Stormbreaker activated its overlimit. He also transformed into Supreme Dragon form. He unleashed Soul Breath and Lightning God Barrage while Thuras fired the Earth Core Bomb. Euphysine was distracted, but the various high-level energies formed around her forced her back to focus. A spell formation quickly formed before her. However, this spell formation fizzled halfway. She quickly identified the cause. She turned to Master, who had just cast his second spell. It was Cancel Magic. Master had predicted the chance that Euphysine might try to use a defensive spell. He couldn't let this first strike fail. Master's extremely high intelligence stat was enough to have his Cancel Magic disrupt Euphysine's casting. Master had timed his and his minions' attacks so they landed at precisely the same time to make use of the elemental merging bonus. Jack might have acted later due to his surprise, but he activated Dragon's Eye to slow down his perception of time. He then used this decelerated perception to time his and Thera's attacks to perfectly synchronize with Master. The 7 powerful elemental attacks landed on Euphysine, who was too late to move away. The explosion sent intermixed elemental energies in all directions, creating a spectacular spectacle. Master glanced at Jack. He was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Jack to be able to perfectly synchronize their attacks as he did during the battle at the high-rise building. This put Jack's timing calculation on par with his own. Jack might have used the Dragon Eye, but he was used to cooperating with others in a battle. Matching his rhythm with Master was not something difficult. He relied more on instinct instead of calculating the timing. This was a feat unimaginable by Master because Master always fought by using others as pawns instead of as comrades. When the explosion subsided, their mana sense felt a surge of power from inside the dust cloud. Multiple ice chains shot out from the dust cloud at high speed. Jack dodged by using shooting dash. Master cast teleportation. Their minions who didn't have mana sense failed to evade on time. The ice chains coiled around the High Demon, Angel, and the Ras. The end of these ice chains burrowed into the 3 while the chains tightened around their bodies. Damage numbers continuously appeared above their heads as ice spread over their bodies, freezing them. "Therasa-Euro," Jack called with concern. Uncountable ice spears flew out of the dust cloud. Master cast Ice Wall to defend. Jack had run to where Master was when he used shooting dash. He now cast Magic Wall behind Master's Ice Wall. Master's Ice Wall was extremely durable due to his high intelligence stat. But after being battered continuously by the ice spears, it still crumbled. Jack's Magic Wall behind could only last a few hits before it was destroyed. The 2 spells had reduced the number of ice spears significantly. Jack used his sword art to destroy the remaining ones. Master cast ice armor and prepared a magic shield while hiding behind Jack. The dust cloud finally settled. They saw Euphysine, who was staring at them with a grimace. The assault just now was a combination attack that merged the strongest attacks from 2 of the strongest players, and all it did was reduce her health point a bit over 10%. Euphysine just stood there and stared at them. Aside from the lost health point, she was completely fine. She looked composed, even calmer than before she was struck by the combination attack. She looked up at the glowing orb. The divine heritage wasn't gone. It was simply unavailable for now. She then studied the rune diagram that had separated the divine heritage from her. It was just a useless diagram now. It had carried out its effect. Destroying the diagram wouldn't yield any result. She could just wait until the effect ended. From the energy, Euphysine estimated it would be at least 5 hours before the energy dissipated and released the divine heritage. "You two are very not Euro," she said. Her voice was back to her playful tone. The Ras and Master's 2 summons were now encased within a huge solid block of ice. Damage numbers continued to pop up above them each second, but they were not in immediate danger. The damage was little. It would take hours to deplete their health point. They were unable to move, though. Jack considered hitting the ice. Maybe that could free the Ras. But after taking only 1 step, Euphysine acted. Numerous ice chains suddenly sprout from her back. Some of it stabbed into the floor and pushed her up. The other flailed around her. The ice chains made her look like a spider that had 10s of legs. These spider leg chains then carried her forward by making motions as if they were crawling. "You don't want to play my games? Well then, let me play with you instead," she exclaimed. The ice chains around her extended forward, attempting to stab Jack and Master. Jack activated Azura and Dance of the Brave. His 6 arms and 10 golden swords repelled the ice chains that came his way. The force from each collision between his swords and the ice chains sent him back 1 step. Euphysine's power was too high for him. He had already activated most of his buff skills and even the strength of hope, but he was still getting pushed back. Euphysine was laughing as her ice chains assaulted Jack. It didn't even seem like she was being serious. She looked like a little girl who was playing with her toys. Jack had even activated Time Realm. The ice chain's stabbing speed was very swift. With these many chains assaulting him, he had trouble keeping up even with so many swords at his disposal. Euphasine's demented laugh echoed throughout the hall. It made Jack feel very uncomfortable. Jack continued to step back with each clash. "Hey! Why do you just hide behind me?" Jack complained to Master. As Jack continued to step backward, his mana sense picked up on what was behind him. What he sensed was an army. In the short time Jack was busy blocking Euphasine's attacks, Master had used that reprieve to cast one summoning spell after another. Standing before Master were his avatar, a demon, a lesser angel, a flame salamander, a winged feral tiger, 10 dirt golems, a fae, 5 skeletons equipped with light armor and short sword, and 3 shadow-like creatures with skeletal claws. Penuel informed Jack the shadow-like creatures were the Shades. They were summoned using the Necromancer Lord's level 60 spell. These Shades could fly and they were resistant to 50% of physical damage. Master gave the command and these minions rushed forward, except for the lesser demon and lesser angel who flew back instead. As his minions were advancing, Master completed another spell he was in the process of casting, Shadow Army. 1,000 shadow creatures rushed out from the completed spell. Even though the hall was large, it still felt cramped when 1,000 creatures suddenly filled it up. Jack didn't want to be left behind. He called his 10 wolves and added them to the monster mob. However, one thing continued to unsettle him. Euphasine's laugh. She never stopped laughing. Even with such a number thrown at her, she continued to laugh like a lunatic. Due to Master's minions, the ice chains were now dealing with them instead of Jack. Jack used the opportunity to cast tracing beams. The beams turned multiple times in the air as they slipped through the shadow creatures to find their way to the target. Jack also advanced to get a clear view of the target so he could land an attack. But as he did, he sensed power gathering at the place where Euphasine was. Through the mass of monsters, he slightly saw a spell formation forming. Master also saw it. Even if he only saw a part of the spell formation, he recognized the spell. "Get behind me!" he called to Jack. Jack didn't argue. He had sensed the accumulating mana from Euphasine's casting, and he knew it was nothing simple. He used charge to increase his movement speed and ran to where Master was. Master changed one of the magic staffs in his hand to a large heater shield just as Jack arrived. A shell made of light then covered the area close to Master. "This is heavenly shelter," Penuel exclaimed in Jack's mind. His paladin class is also already a special class. Jack felt apprehensive learning this. This meant all of Master's 5 classes were special classes. Jack asked Penuel if she knew what grade was Master's paladin special class. Penuel said that she couldn't tell. Some special classes shared the same skills. For example, a necromancer, high necromancer, and necromancer lord all shared the same first few spells. As the player leveled up, higher grade necromancer would have access to spells unavailable to the lower grade classes. The Heavenly Shelter was the first skill from several paladin special classes. Penuel would have to see the higher level skills to be able to determine the special class grade. The fact was, Master's paladin class was a second-class special class Valiant Paladin. Even with his knowledge, getting a first-class special class was no easy feat. Out of his 5 classes, 3 were first class while the remaining 2 were second class. At the first level, the Heavenly Shelter blocked damage equal to 500% of the Paladin's health point. Any remaining damage that couldn't be blocked was then reduced by 50%. The skill also protected the ones inside the shell from all status effects. Euphasine completed her spell. The temperature in the hall dropped drastically. In the span of less than a second, everything within the hall was covered in ice. Jack saw large damage numbers appear above Master's minions once the hall turned into an ice world. All the shadow creatures were killed. Some of Master's weaker minions, which had previously received damage from Euphasine's ice chains, were also killed. A good portion of the surviving ones was frozen. The rest were significantly slowed. As for Master's Heavenly Shelter, it crumbled after a while. The residual ice energy assailed Jack and Master. Jack activated gold scale armor when the shell was destroyed, while Master was still protected by his ice armor. Even so, both of them still suffered damage that took out almost 1/3 of their lives. Master had leveled up the Heavenly Shelter to the max. At level 20, Heavenly Shelter was able to sustain damage equal to 1000% of his health point and reduce the remaining damage by 80%. Master had 65,000 health point. This meant the damage that hit the Heavenly Shell was way more than 650,000 health point. The demon was among the ones that were frozen. Jack saw cracks appear on the ice covering the demon. The cracks spread until the frozen demon was shattered. What a euro! Jack knew the demon was among Monster's strong summons which had a high pool of health point. He couldn't believe that it was killed by a single spell. Master wasn't as surprised as Jack because he knew the demon was a goner when it was frozen. Penuel explained to Jack, "That spell just now was Ice Nova. It is a spell that uses 8 runes for casting. Aside from dealing astronomical ice damage in a very large area, it can also cause freeze and slow. The scariest aspect of the spell was its freezing ability. All the ones frozen by this spell also receive instant death effect." Jack glanced to where their ass was. It was still encased inside its ice prison. His health point didn't decrease as much. It seemed that even though the ice prison stopped its target, it also protected them from outside damage. Master's only surviving minions were his avatar, the winged feral tiger, one shade, the lesser demon, and the lesser angel. The lesser demon and the lesser angel were far away from Euphysine, though. They were near the walls of the hall. Jack didn't understand why Master had those two so far away from the battlefield. He didn't have the time to worry about them. Master's avatar, the winged feral tiger, and the shade resumed being assaulted by Euphysine's ice chains. The avatar and the winged feral tiger could still somewhat deal with the chains by relying on their speed before they were hit by the Ice Nova spell. With their current slowed state, they were sitting ducks, even when they had Jack's time realm speeding them up and slowing the chains down. The slow effect of the Ice Nova was very significant. The shade was already not too fast from the start. It was the first out of the 3 to die. Even as Euphysines' chains were actively attacking, Euphysine herself appeared very relaxed. She didn't do anything else after casting the Ice Nova. She stared at Jack and Master playfully, as if this was all just entertainment. "Still want to continue to play?" she asked casually. She never received any hits after that first strike. As a mythical grade, her health point recovered during combat. Her health point bar had returned to 90%. If they still couldn't touch her, it would be like she was never hit. Jack's forehead creased. He was thinking hard about a solution, but this opponent proved to be truly out of his league. Euphysine laughed. She very much enjoyed the look of her two prey, but then her mana sense warned her of an attack from behind. She used her ice chains to forcefully drag her to the side just as a fiery beam shot through where she was just now. The air around where she dodged suddenly burst into fire. The flames formed a symbol next to her. Multiple flaming ropes came out of this symbol and coiled around her, binding her. Her ice chains could do nothing to this fiery symbol. They flailed around trying to destroy the symbol, but they just went through it as if it was air. "Sister, release me!" Euphysine yelled. "Talia!" Jack finally saw the one who had attacked Euphysine. After Euphysine lost her god power, the divine energy that was confining Talia slowly dissipated. She finally freed herself after a struggle. "Our goddess power has turned you mad, sister. We mortals are never meant for that power. I have to stop you from harming more innocents." Talia didn't let go of her hold. "You a euro, can't a euro, stop a euro, may a euro." Euphysine gritted her teeth. She channeled her mana manipulation to break free. Talia seemed to struggle. Euphysine's level was higher than hers. She only managed to trap Euphysine because Euphysine was unaware of her. If she had to confront Euphysine directly, she wasn't confident she could win. Jack didn't let the chance go. He activated Lightning God's suit and flew forward. On his way, he used Swords of the Brave. 10 golden swords flew straight toward Euphysine. Euphysine's ice chains moved by themselves and attacked the incoming golden swords. The Swords of the Brave had strong knockback effects. The collisions between the golden swords and the ice chains produced explosive impacts that threw the chains aside, giving Jack a clear path. Jack arrived before Euphysine. His dances of the brave had ended, but his Azura had not yet. With 6 arms, he landed uncountable slashes on Euphysine. He had also activated Phantom Blade, boosting his damage output further. "How dare you lay your hands on Mayayuro?" Euphysine bellowed. She no longer found the current situation entertaining. Jack's attacks caused her difficulty in focusing her mana manipulation. Thus, Talia's fiery cage was able to continue holding her. She used that mana for something else instead. "Away from Mayayuro!" she cried. Explosive ice energy radiated from her. Jack sensed the danger and moved away, but he was still struck by the cold energy. Luckily, he had Lightning God suit protecting him, so he didn't suffer much damage. Master didn't stay idle. He used his other divine power, Earth Prison WYRM. Euphysine was soon encased in a rocky prison. She was now held by both earth and fire. Master figured this was the opportunity to go all out. He used Earth Titan and became a giant rock golem. He approached Euphysine and slammed her into the floor. He then used Wind God Rage. A sphere of violent wind formed around him, shredding everything in its range. Euphysine screamed in pain as the wind cut her. Damage numbers came out one after another. Jack couldn't approach due to the Wind God Rage, but he supported by using ranged attacks. When everything seemed to be in their favor, Jack heard a pained yell from Talia. He looked over and saw that another person had appeared and struck Talia from behind. It was Agli. Due to Agli's disruption, Talia lost hold of her spell. The fiery symbol that was holding Euphysine dissipated. "I thought Euphysine lost her divine power? How is she still controlling Agli?" Jack asked Penuel while flying toward Talia. Talia was their main battle power. He had to keep her safe. "She needs the divine power to keep many tethered puppets. But if only one puppet, she didn't need the divine power to do that," Penuel explained. Talia's fiery prison was the main reason Euphysine was incapacitated. Without it, the only thing holding Euphysine down was Master's rock prison. The rock prison might be a divine skill, but the difference in levels between Master and Euphysine was simply too large. The rock prison started cracking before Euphysine's ice chains broke out of it. The ice chains stabbed into Master's rock suit repeatedly. The rock suit was thick and durable, but it still cracked from the repeated stab. The Wind God Rage had also ended. Euphysine was in pain, and there were many cut marks on her previously smooth skin. She was eyeing Master with mad fury. "I will kill Mayayuro!" She roared as a quick spell formation was formed. An ice beam struck Master's rock golem at point-blank range on the chest. The heavy-looking giant golem was sent straight up and crashed into the ceiling. The chest part of the golem broke off, revealing Master behind it. Master didn't panic despite the turn of events. He was double casting when the ice beam hit. He didn't lose his concentration. When he hit the ceiling, his spell castings were completed. He cast Sea of the Elementals and Waves of Hellfire. The 2 elemental spells surged forward, destroying everything they touched. Euphysine might be furious, but she didn't attack blindly. She changed her casting from an offensive spell to a defensive one. An icy shell surrounded her body. This ice shell was the defensive spell she had been planning to use when Jack and Master attacked her with their combination assault. Master's cancel magic was still in cooldown, so he couldn't prevent her from casting. Jack saw the situation while flying to Agli. He had cast his cancel magic when Euphysine was still casting. Unfortunately, his intelligence was not high enough. His spell failed to affect Euphysine's casting. Upon the failure, he summoned his spirit weapon and put it on ranged mode to support Master from afar. Master's 2 offensive spells struck Euphysines' ice shell. She still received damage, but it was greatly mitigated. Jack used Wind Slash when he was close to Agli and Talia. The 5 wind blades struck Agli and caused her to stagger. Talia used this chance to strike back at Agli, forcing her back. Jack's inspect informed him that Agli was level 87, 2 levels higher than Talia. This finding discouraged Jack. One Euphysine was already a handful. Now they had to add another foe who was also higher level than the 3 of them. But Jack couldn't let this destroy his hope. He would keep on fighting despite the odds. His dragon form's wind jet carried him at high speed to where Agli was. His claws turned into a blur. Talia had been shooting fiery darts at Agli. Between Jack's swords and Talia's fiery darts, Agli was forced to step back. Agli's expression was flat. She didn't feel troubled. She was even still showing her usual smile. Jack shouted at Talia, "Can you free those three?" Talia glanced at where Jack indicated. Yes, Talia cast a spell. Because Talia diverted her attention, Agli was free to deal with Jack alone. A light wall appeared and blocked all of Jack's slashes. Jack saw from the other side of the wall that Agli was casting. Jack didn't want to take any chance. He also cast a spell. Both their spells were completed at the same time. Bright light filled the space around Jack. It continued to build up until it became so intense that it disintegrated everything within it. Penuel informed Jack that was heavenly punishing light. A single target spell that dealt extremely high light damage. When the light dissipated, Jack was fine. He was floating in the air and his body was slightly transparent. Jack had cast ghost form and avoided getting scorched by the intense light. Agli continued staring at Jack with her smiling face. She didn't show any confusion. She cast another spell. A glowing orb appeared beside her. This orb fired continuous light spears at Jack. Since Jack was still in ghost form, the light spears just passed through Jack. She also cast another spell and a huge hand made of light tried to grab Jack. But it also failed. Agli was moving under automated responses. All she tried to do was vanquish her foes. She wasn't thinking about why her spells didn't work. Jack happily let her focus on him while his ghost form was active. Meanwhile, Talia finished casting her spell and conjured an intense flame that burned the 3 ice prisons. The ice prisons melted and then started to crack. The one that held Thuras was the one that broke first. Thuras had the highest attributes among the 3. It was also fighting to free itself from the inside. The High Demon was next. The angel took the longest time to be freed. The freed Thuras came charging at Agli using tyrannical charge. Agli wasn't aware of the attack since she didn't have mana sense. She was thrown to the side. The 30-second duration of Jack's ghost form ended then. Jack used combination assault and merged with Thuras as they smashed into Agli. Agli was thrown further from the attack. Talia was about to resume helping Jack deal with Agli when Master flew past her and landed hard on the floor. Master's rock suit crumbled then. His health point had also fallen below half. Both Jack and Talia turned to Euphysine, who was again in the air supported by her spider-like ice chains. A few of her ice chains were coiling around Jack's spirit weapon. They tightened their grips and the spirit weapon was destroyed. Euphysine looked at them with cold eyes. There was no longer playfulness in those eyes. "I've had enough of this game. I will end you all," she declared. The freed angel came to Master's side. She cast High Heal on Master before adding a prismatic shield on him. Master glanced in Agli's direction. He had known about Agli's condition from Jack's story. He rose and started barking orders. "You, keep that mad woman busy," Master commanded Talia. To Jack he said, "You hold that dead woman down. Keep her in place. Do not damage her. Motherfucker. Can you at least be courteous when asking for something?" Jack said with annoyance, but he still did as Master asked. He was already fighting Agli anyway. He cast acceleration on himself, Thuras, Master, Talia, and the High Demon. His Thera's ultimate beast condition had already ended, but Jack still had other skills to empower it. He used Gigantify Pet Thera's frame doubled in size. With increased endurance, it should be able to better withstand Agli's attacks. Jack cast Myriad Venomous Vipers while Thuras used Imperious Pressure to try to keep Agli in place. Meanwhile, Talia confronted Euphysine. Not because of Master's command, but because that was her intention from the start. She didn't wish to fight Agli. She knew Agli's body was under Euphysine's control. If Euphysine could be defeated, Agli would also stop. Euphysine cast a spell that conjured uncountable revolving ice blades. Talia cast a spell that formed a huge fiery net. The fiery net tried to trap all the ice blades while melting them. It lasted a while, but eventually the fiery net broke. A few still intact ice blades flew toward Talia. Assisted by Jack's acceleration, Talia was able to cast the next spell before the ice blades arrived. She cast Fire Wall. This flaming wall blocked those remaining ice blades. While Talia cast her defensive spell, Euphysine had readied another offense. The air around Talia was frozen. A cube of ice was formed and imprisoned Talia within. Master had commanded its high demon to engage Euphysine as well. He knew Talia was not Euphysine's equal. However, his high demon was completely powerless even with Jack's acceleration. Euphysine didn't even spare the demon any attention. It was the ice chains around her that automatically attacked the high demon when it came near. The high demon was stabbed multiple times and was unable to retaliate. Parts of its body were covered by freezing ice. It was only able to survive due to the healing provided by the angel. While everyone was fighting, Master cast a spell. He was aiming at a Glee. "Why are you aiming your spell here? We are fine here. You help Talia deal with Euphysine," Jack shouted after seeing Master's aim. Master didn't bother to reply to Jack. "His necromancer lord may have also reached level 70 euro, Penuel said. "So what if his necromancer lord is level 70? Jack asked. "That means you no longer need to fight a Glee. Get ready to pull their ass away." Huh! Jack didn't understand Penuel's words. Jack's acceleration also helped Master increase his already fast casting speed. The spell Master was casting was completed after forming 8 runes. Jack was impressed by the number of runes from the spell. Jack turned to a Glee to see what the spell did. A soft light enveloped a Glee. She suddenly dropped her head and stopped moving. "Stop their ass," Penuel instructed. Jack complied. Their ass stepped back from a Glee but remained vigilant. A Glee just stood there, unmoving. Jack's 15 vipers were already gone when a Glee cast the spell to forcefully end the spell. A Glee's head suddenly rose. Spell formation was formed rapidly. A ray of light was then shot from the completed spell. Jack was taken aback by the sudden move. He almost attacked, but Penuel stopped him before he acted. The ray of light from a Glee shot past Jack and their ass. It traveled at high speed. It made several turns in the air. These turns made it difficult to gauge what this ray of light was targeting. The ray finally made one last turn and headed to its target, which turned out to be Euphysine. Euphysine had just killed Master's high demon. In her hand was a giant ice bow which she conjured using her spell. She was ready to fire the arrow from this ice bow when a Glee's ray of light came barging. She was also taken aback by this sudden attack. She used the ice bow in her hand to defend against the ray of light. The ice bow was shattered and she was forced back with a damage number. What a euro! Jack saw a Glee fly toward Euphysine. A Glee shot continuous ranged attacks at Euphysine. What Master cast just now was Necromancer Lord's level 70 spell. Control the dead, Penuel explained. The spell takes control of a dead native who still has an intact body or a monster that dies not longer than 1 hour. A Glee is a puppet made from a dead native, so it is a viable target for this spell. Penuel later explained to Jack in more detail about the spell. The spell was like Dispel. The runes for its spell formation were not fixed. Could be cast with fewer runes. The minimum was 5 while the maximum was 8 runes. The higher the runes, the higher the spell's success chance in controlling a higher level dead native or monster. The intelligence stat also helped the success chance. Master was able to control a Glee who was more than 10 levels higher than him because he used 8 runes for casting and had an extremely high intelligence stat. The giant ice cube that imprisoned Talia was melting. Fire burst out from the edges of the cube before it was completely destroyed. From inside the destroyed cube, Talia's body was seen cloaked in flames. These flames formed 2 pairs of wings on her back. When Talia came out of her imprisonment, a Glee's body also shone. 3 pairs of large scythe-like appendages made of light sprout from her back. Her whole body was glowing. The 3 sisters faced each other. They were once the dearest companions to each other within this faction. Today they would be undergoing a battle to the death. Euphysine, Talia, and a Glee didn't waste time staring at each other. A Glee was the first to move. She was controlled by Master after all. Master's spell had a limited duration, so he wanted to fully make use of Aglee's prowess. The light scythes from Aglee's back thrust and slashed while she fired light darts at Euphysine. Euphysine fought back using the ice chains from her back. She channeled more power to those chains and their sizes doubled. A layer of ice also covered her body. It was similar to Master's ice armor, only her ice armor looked thicker and much sturdier. The ice chains clashed with Aglee's light scythes. Unfortunately, the ice chains outnumbered the scythes. Aglee received multiple stabs from the chains. Aglee cared not for her wounds. She was already dead anyway. She continued to go for the offense, trying to damage Euphysine at the cost of her own health point. Talia didn't stay idle. Her flaming wings flapped and slapped all the ice chains that came at her. The flame that was shrouding her also formed a pair of flaming whips in her hands. She whipped the flaming whips at Euphysine, dealing fire damage. "You a Euro! How dare you go against me again?" Euphysine yelled at Aglee. Her voice was back to hysterical, similar to when she lost the divine heritage. "Haven't I already shown you that I am superior? I own you. You should obey me a Euro." With each movement, Euphysine formed one ice block after another. She slammed these ice blocks onto Aglee. She ignored all the whips sent by Talia. Her focus was entirely on Aglee. Fire, ice, and light shot everywhere as the three clashed. Jack, Thuras, Master, and his angel stayed at a distance from the three. This battle was something that was out of their league. Jack saw Master take out a large ominous book. It was the legendary artifact, the Necronomicon. Master opened the Necronomicon and used its Army of Darkness ability. Even though Aglee wasn't turned into an undead using the Necronomicon, it was still a dead being controlled by Master. Hence, it was considered a valid target for the Necronomicon's ability. Dark clouds enveloped Aglee's head. Her movement speed increased and so was her attributes. With the buff, she fought even more ferociously. "What is the duration for that Control the Dead spell?" Jack asked Penuel. 30 minutes for its first level. 2 hours if the spell is maxed," Penuel answered. "That Army of Darkness ability, the undead affected will die after 12 hours, right?" Jack asked. "Or when the Necronomicon's user loses control of the dead," Penuel replied. "When Master's spell that is controlling Aglee ends, she will die. But she is Euphysine's tethered puppet, so she will come back to life again after that?" "HM The question made Penuel ponder. "No, the Necronomicon's effect is more powerful. Takes priority. Any undead after receiving the Necronomicon's effect will not be able to be resurrected again. So, she will stay dead." "I see a Euro how devious of that guy to use this trick," Jack uttered. He couldn't help but be impressed by Master. He does this so that even if Euphysine isn't defeated after his spell ends, Aglee will not be around to aid her anymore because she will stay dead. With the Army of the Darkness boost, Aglee's power increased. Her light scythes cut through Euphysine's chains and pierced her ice suit. She screamed from the pain as damage numbers popped up. She retaliated with an ice explosion that blasted Aglee away, but the undead woman returned as if nothing happened. Talia's flames assaulted Euphysine from the flank. Despite Euphysine not focusing on her, she still suffered damage because Euphysine ice chains automatically attacked everything that came into range. The number of ice chains and their power made it so it was impossible for Talia and Aglee to defend against them. Even by ganging up on Euphysine, Aglee and Talia still lost health point faster than their sister. Master's angel cast healing spells to keep Talia's health point at a safe level. Aglee couldn't be healed due to the Necronomicon's effect. Jack and Master didn't stay idle. They sent ranged attacks whenever they could. Any little damage they could inflict to chip down Euphysine's health point was worth it. Jack considered using his rune technique, but Euphysine didn't exactly stay in one place, and the ice chains around her were very fast. He wasn't confident he could hit Euphysine. He bet he would be assaulted by those chains the second he teleported next to her. Euphysine had been blinded by rage. She lashed out violently, but she finally came back to her sense when her health point dropped below half. She noticed Talia, who should be in a worse condition than her, still having her health point above half. so she turned her attention to the angel who healed Talia. She cast telekinesis at the angel. The angel couldn't resist the power from a level 90 mythical. The angel was forcefully dragged toward Euphysine. Euphysine's left hand turned into a large ice claw that grabbed the angel's neck. The angel tried to fight back by summoning 2 swords made of light in each of her hands. She stabbed Euphysine with these light swords, but the damage was greatly diminished by Euphysine's ice armor. Her stabbing motions became sluggish as ice spread all over her body. In a short time, she was completely covered by ice. Euphysine released her grip and the ice block, and chasing the angel fell to the floor. It broke to pieces once it hit the floor. Penuel informed Jack that it was a spell called Ice Death, another spell that had the probability of instant death effect. 2 factors affected the success chance of the instant death effect: level difference and percentage of health point. The bigger the level difference between the caster and its target, the higher the success chance for instant death. Additionally, the lower the target's health point, the higher the success chance. Now that Euphysine came back to her senses, she didn't fight blindly anymore. She fought reservedly, taking opportunities to counterattack when possible. She avoided Agli, who was still on full offense. Once the spell that controlled her ended, Agli would stop. Hence, she didn't need to do anything to her. She focused her offense more on Talia. Because of that, Talia's health point went down rapidly. A healing light fell on Talia when her health point was down to 20%. It was Penuel's Fast Heal. Fast Heal originally only healed 50% health point, but Jack's Call Familiar already had 5 stars. Each star increased the power of the familiar skills. At 5 stars, Penuel's Fast Heal recovered 75% health point. Hence, Talia's health point was now back to almost full. This incident caused Euphysine to turn in Penuel's direction. Her eyes were deadly cold. Euphysine stopped moving, allowing Talia and Agli free hits. However, Talia quickly retreated because she sensed the mana converging around Euphysine. A powerful explosion radiated from Euphysine, freezing even the air. Talia didn't retreat fast enough, but her flames protected her from getting frozen. Her speed became slow, though. Agli never stopped attacking. She lost mana sense when she died. But even if she had the ability, Master would still command her to keep attacking. Euphysine's ice mana explosion hit her point blank. Her entire body was frozen. With a slap, Euphysine sent the frozen Agli flying across the hall. Euphysine then shot forward. Talia tried to engage Euphysine, but Euphysine's ice chains assaulted her. Because she was slowed, she couldn't dodge the ice chains. The ice chains coiled around her before slamming her into the floor. Without obstacles hindering her, Euphysine proceeded toward Penuel. One healing from Penuel brought Talia to almost full health. She couldn't let the fairy repeat that. Jack wasn't going to stay still and let Euphysine get to Penuel. He and Thuras came forward. Thera's body had returned to normal. The Gigantify pet had ended, but Jack still had other buff skills for his pet. Jack used Beast Howl, Beast Tantrum, and Mirage Beast. Thuras had recovered decently when it stayed on the sideline while Euphysine was battling Talia and Agli. The Beast Howl replenished its remaining health point. It was now back to full health and its stats were also increased. The Beast Tantrum increased its stats further. Thuras and its clone served as tanks to block Euphysine from reaching Penuel. Euphysine waved her hand. Huge, sharp icicles materialized before her. They impaled Thuras and its clone. Thera's clone was pushed back, but Thuras refused to. Despite getting damaged, it forced itself forward and used Overbearing Stomp. The stomp produced a localized earthquake and destroyed the icicles. Euphysine was displeased that this pet stopped her advance. She cast a spell. Hundreds of little butterflies made of ice were conjured. When these butterflies touched Thuras and its clone, they exploded. The explosion dealt ice damage and also produced a freeze effect. With so many butterflies hitting them, Thuras and its clone were frozen in no time. The butterflies flew past frozen Thuras and came at Jack and Penuel. Jack put Penuel behind him. When he saw these ice butterflies, he cast Orb of Storm and Perpetual Lightning Judgment. The empowered lightning blasted all the butterflies. Icy and electrical discharge filled the air, obscuring the view. Jack sensed another attack coming. Jack used Flame Strike powered by mana manipulation at the exact time the attack arrived. He felt a strong knockback and was sent tumbling backward. The attack Jack blocked wasn't the only one. 7 ice spears appeared and headed toward Penuel. "Penuel, invulnerability," Jack called. Penuel almost used the skill, but a group of people came in front of her. These people blocked the ice spears for Penuel. Everyone? Jack saw that these were people he was familiar with. They were Grace, Spring Crown, Naomi, Kramer, Freddy, and Tom. Each of them blocked one of the ice spears except for Grace, who blocked 2. All of them suffered damage and were thrown back except for Spring Crown. Naomi and Tom almost lost their lives from the block. Kramer also suffered large damage, but he had high health point as a native. Freddy didn't lose so much because he used mana manipulation to block. Grace also didn't lose much despite blocking 2 ice spears because of her equipment's high defense, and she had activated the armor of ego. Spring Crown didn't suffer any damage because he used his skill, Absorb Energy. His spear was now coated with intense ice energy. His spirit weapon was behind him. He used Energy Weapon, turning his spirit weapon into a ball of energy that smashed into Euphysine, who had now appeared in front of them. Euphysine easily blocked the energy weapon with an ice shield formed by her hand. Her ice chains stretched forward, attempting to stab everyone. Grace, Spring Crown, and Freddy parried the stab while getting forced back. Kramer kept on getting stabbed, but he refused to retreat. Naomi and Tom had retreated after the first clash. Tom cast healing spells on them both. Penuel cast Healing Field to keep Grace and the others alive. She had flown back to hide behind Jack once these people saved her. Jack came forward and blocked Euphysine's ice chains using his sword art. "Kramer, move back," Jack commanded. The native teenager was too valiant for his own good. A distance away, Jack also saw Stefan and Sadie use ranged attacks on Euphysine. Master was elsewhere, casting his spells from safety. Euphysine scoffed at their attempts. She was about to advance again to teach these ants a lesson when a fire lasso came and bound her. She looked back. The fire lasso was from Talia. Agli had also freed herself from her frozen condition. She and Talia were now coming at Euphysine again. Euphysine huffed. The flaming lasso that was coiling her body was frozen until it became solid ice. It then shattered. Euphysine cast a spell that was completed before Talia and Agli arrived. A huge face made of ice materialized before the two. This giant ice face blew an icy breath. Talia and Agli formed magic shields before them, but the gust from the breath was too strong. They were driven back by the icy wind. "You people are pissing me off," Euphysine exclaimed. "How dare you all interfere with the quarrel between my sisters and me? Be gone." She was casting a spell, another 8-rune spell. When it was completed, an endless torrent of ice needles filled the hall. "Get near me," Jack shouted. His swords turned into a blur as he slashed every single needle that came near him. Upon the first impact, Jack understood these needles contained deadly power. If his slashes weren't powered by mana manipulation, he believed he would suffer damage from each clash. Even though Jack could block these needles, his slashes covered a limited area. He couldn't defend everyone. Grace, Spring Crown, and Freddy were still able to defend despite the high difficulty. The others weren't doing so well. Kramer, Naomi, Tom, Stefan, and Sadie got battered by the needles. Tom's eagle claw art let him intercept the needles. However, his damage output was not enough to negate the needle's power. He didn't have mana manipulation, so he received damage with each impact. "Grace, generosity of hope," Jack called. "I can't," Grace replied. "I have already used it in the battle outside." The ones who had healing spells tried their best to keep everyone alive. But in the end, Euphysine's spell was simply too powerful for them. Jack watched helplessly as Naomi, Tom, and Stefan were killed. Sadie managed to save herself by running out of the hall. She was attacking from a distance and her position was near the entrance. Stefan died because his response was late. Sadie was already running to the entrance when she saw Euphysine start casting. Months as participants in the game had honed her danger instinct. Winston and Windy were outside the hall. They didn't dare to go in like the others. When Sadie came out running, they knew their decision was correct. They were all originally battling the happy dolls outside. These dolls suddenly stopped moving for no reason. Little did they know that it was because Euphysine had lost her divine power when Master ripped the divine heritage out of her. She was unable to maintain so many tethered puppets without divine power. After the happy dolls stopped moving, they entered the mansion and searched for Jack and Master. They had just recently found this hall and saw that Jack was battling inside. Grace rushed in without a second thought. Most others followed in except for Winston and Windy. Inside the hall, Freddy and Springcrown were in critical health. They hurriedly retreated. Grace was better due to her equipment's exceptional defense. Jack was unharmed. "Get out! It's too dangerous, Hiriayuro," Jack shouted. Freddy and Springcrown didn't need much encouragement. They ran toward the exit. Kramer and Grace stayed. "You two should leave too," Jack told them. "I'm fine," Grace replied. She didn't budge. "I won't leave your majesty to fight alone," Kramer declared. "Grace, prioritize your healing on Kramer," Jack ordered. He could see it was a waste of time trying to persuade them. Jack glanced at Master, who was also unharmed. The lesser demon and angel who had been roaming away in the hall had come to block the needles for him. "You pests are irksomely obstinate," Euphysine said. She advanced and her ice chains had returned to assailing the ones who survived her spell. Jack and the others stepped back as they defended against the chains. Jack stepped forward and used his sword art. His slashes were so accurate now the ice chains were hit at an angle that didn't oppose the chains' power but deflected them instead. Thus, he wasn't overpowered by the huge difference in power. Euphysine was genuinely startled that this outworlder was able to achieve such a feat. The area in front of her was suddenly clear of her chains. Grace took advantage of this. She used the Mace of Selfishness. An image of a huge mace appeared and smashed into Euphysine. She was still amazed by Jack's feat that she reacted late and failed to defend against the mace. Due to the successful first hit and there was no other enemy around, the next mace struck Euphysine again. Even when the mace didn't cause her much damage, she was unable to retaliate because the Mace of Selfishness produced a slight stun upon impact. She was unable to move as all 15 maces kept on hitting her. Jack didn't let the chance go. He channeled his mana and performed Brave Slash. The light enveloping his Stormbreaker shone brightly as it was powered by strong mana manipulation. Jack's attack similarly didn't produce much damage since most of his buff skill was on cooldown, but Euphysine still screamed in pain from the hit. No apparent wound was seen on her body, but her pained cry proved that Jack's Brave Slash still affected her. Her ice chains reacted due to the pain. They became fiercer and stabbed Jack aggressively. "I will defend you, my king," Kramer shouted as he came forward with his shield when Jack was forced back. "Kramer!" "No!" Jack shouted. With Jack out of reach, the chains diverted their attention to the next target. Some stabbed Kramer while some coiled his body. They bound him and pulled him toward Euphysine. "Kramer a euro!" Jack tried to push forward, but it was hard to do with the ice chains hindering his way. When Kramer almost came into Euphysine's grasp, a curtain of fire came between her and Kramer. It was a spell from Talia who was coming from the side. "You can't save him," Euphysine exclaimed. One of her hands grabbed the flame curtain and it was rapidly frozen. While Euphysine was determined to slay Kramer, a Glee came from behind. After fighting so recklessly for some time in addition to she couldn't be healed, a Glee's health point was very low. The light scythes on her back stabbed into Euphysine's body. Euphysine's chains struck a Glee to push her away, but a Glee's light scythes that were digging into Euphysine's flesh forcefully tethered her to Euphysine. A Glee's body then glowed. Talia's face turned anxious when she saw the glow. She zoomed to Jack's side. "Stay back," she shouted while casting a spell at the same time. A shell of flame formed around her, covering herself, Jack, and Grace. The two pairs of fiery wings on her back left her body and joined the shell. The flames on the shell intensified once that happened. They became thicker and more raging. Euphysine ice chains were unable to pierce through the shell of flames. But at the same time, Jack also couldn't come out of the shell to help Kramer. Kramer was still held by Euphesine's ice chains. A glee then turned supernova. Her glow covered the entire hall. Spring Crown, who was watching from the entrance, had predicted something was off when he saw a glee glowing. He called for everyone to retreat further away. The others didn't understand why, but they retreated just in case. They turned at an intersection just as the hall's entrance in the distance became impossibly bright. The light showered the wall directly across the intersection. They saw the wall that was hit by the light slowly melted. They were now glad they followed Spring Crown's instruction. Inside the hall, the bright light finally ended. The floor, walls, and ceiling of the hall all had burned marks. A glee was nowhere to be seen. Where Euphesine used to be was an ice block, and Kramer's body was laying on the floor beside this ice block. The fiery shell around Talia dissolved. She fell weakly onto the floor. She suffered damage again after Penuel replenished her health point. Her health point had now fallen back to below 30%. Penuel and Grace had exhausted their potent healing spells. All were on cooldown. Grace could only use Healer's basic spell, Heal, which had a short cooldown but healed very little health point. Jack ran to Kramer. Kramer's hole was badly burned. He was not moving. "No a euro," Jack uttered. He used his inspect. Kramer had died. "You, as holy a euro," Jack scolded as he turned back. A glee was controlled by a person, and it was that person who had made a glee use the supernova just now. Jack was angry. That person should have at least warned them first. Penuel told Jack that a glee's attack just now was light nova. A very powerful attack that was similar to Euphesine's ice nova. But this one was even more powerful because a glee cast it at the expense of her life, using her life force to fuel the spell's power by several folds. Yet, when he turned around, he couldn't find the person he was looking for. "Where is Hiyuro?" Jack asked. Grace looked around. She also couldn't find Master. Jack couldn't find the dot representing Master on his radar. Master had left the party without notice. There was no longer Master's name within their game party, but Jack didn't believe Master had left this place. He turned to the divine heritage which was still floating up there. He then used Gold Dragon Sight. As he suspected, he could see Master then. Master had used another invisibility scroll. He was at the moment floating before the divine heritage. He was doing something to the seal around the divine heritage and the seal appeared to be opening up. Jack used Reset then. He never trusted Master. He had saved this skill to deal with Master, in case Master turned on them when the battle was over. He transformed into Supreme Dragon form and shot forward. His entire objective in coming to this faction was to prevent Master from getting the divine heritage. He wasn't going to let that happen right in front of him. But the sound of ice breaking drew his attention. He turned and saw the ice block had broken and Euphesine came out of it. She headed toward Talia, who was down on the floor. Euphesine was also not in the best condition. All her ice chains were gone. Her health point was even lower than Talia's. Only around 20% was left, but she seemed to have more energy than Talia. She was shouting hysterically as she headed toward Talia. "You traitor! I consider you my sister. But again and again, you betray me. You oppose me. Now you try to kill me with this group of pests. No more. I will end you now with my own hands." Talia was still weak when Euphesine came barging. She tried to fight back, but her hands were slapped to the side by Euphesine. Euphesine's hand then turned into an ice claw that clenched Talia's neck. Jack recognized that skill. It was Ice Death, the skill with the instant death effect. That skill must have gone off cooldown. Talia's level difference might not be that far from Euphesine, but her health point was already low. The chance of instant death taking effect was rather high. In that split second, Jack was faced with a dilemma. Should he proceed to Master or turn back? Master was still too far for him to use a ranged attack. He needed to advance further, but that would mean leaving Talia to her fate. It was just a split second, but Jack made his decision. He had used the dragon form's inherent wind jet to shoot forward. He was now casting the same spell in the opposite direction. His flight ground to a halt before shooting backward. Ice flakes started to cover Talia, They spread from her neck, which was in contact with Euphesine's ice claw. Talia's body produced fire mana to combat the spreading of the ice, but she was losing the battle. But due to this, she wasn't frozen as fast as Master's Angel when Euphesine used this skill the first time. "Get away from her!" Jack shouted and activated all his offensive buffs, including Strength of Hope. He used Wind Slash once he came into range. He followed with Sword of Light, Mana Beam, Tracing Beams, and other long-ranged attacks. Euphesine ignored all those attacks. She just focused on hastening Talia's freezing process. Or maybe her mind had completely broken and she wasn't aware of the attacks hitting her. She kept on shouting with her hand on Talia's neck. She was freezing her and strangling her at the same time. "Dia Euro! Dia Euro! Dia Euro!" When Jack used Reset, he also reactivated Ultimate Beast, Beast Tantrum, and Gigantify Pet. The multiple buffs empowered their ass and gave it the power to release itself from its frozen condition. The ice that encased it was shattered as its mighty roar was heard. Their ass flapped its wing and chased after Jack when he was going for Master. But when Jack turned around, it followed suit. Jack's ranged attacks had been ignored by Euphesine. When their ass came near him, Jack used Combination Assault. The two merged into a meteor strike and went barreling into Euphesine. The forceful collision finally pried open Euphesine's ice claw from Talia's neck. Talia fell back and coughed hard after being released. Euphesine glared at Jack with eyes full of hatred. "You again. You keep on coming between me and my sister Euro. You have no right to call yourself a sister," Jack exclaimed. He advanced with their ass. He activated his defensive buffs, the gold scale armor and the lightning god suit. Euphesine had one hand pointed at Thuras and another at Jack. The one pointed at Thuras cast a spell that summoned a giant ice boulder. The boulder crashed into Thuras and sent it tumbling sideways. Her other hand had a finger pointed at Jack. Her ice chains might have gone, but she created one again using her ice power. An ice chain that was larger than the ones before formed before her finger. This ice chain shot toward Jack with incredible speed and pierced his chest. "Get over here, Euro!" Euphesine yelled maniacally. Stuck with the ice chain, Jack was pulled toward Euphesine. When Jack rushed toward Master after finding out what Master was up to, Grace was confused at first. She only saw Jack flying toward the divine heritage. She couldn't see Master, but her keen eyesight noticed the seal around the divine heritage was peeling off little by little. She understood then that something was wrong. Her angelic possession had just come off cooldown after using it to fight the Happy Dolls earlier. She immediately activated that skill and followed Jack to the divine heritage. When Jack suddenly turned back to save Talia, she was conflicted about whether to follow Jack back. But she quickly decided that it was better if she left Talia to Jack and she went to protect the divine heritage instead. So, she continued onward. She couldn't see Master. She didn't even know it was Master that was there. But after coming into range, her mana sense quickly picked up on the invisible person. Without hesitation, she used Judgment Strike toward the invisible person. Master appeared then. He appeared because he was casting a spell using one hand. Once he saw Jack come toward him, he was ready. He had one hand continued undoing the seal and the other hand holding a magic staff ready to cast a spell. Aside from the rune diagram to extract the divine heritage from Euphesine, Master had prepared another rune diagram. If he let the seal that trapped this divine heritage run its course, it would still take a few more hours. Hence, he had prepared a second rune diagram that could undo the seal so he could get the divine heritage early. This had always been his plan. He knew whatever the outcome of this battle, neither Jack nor Euphesine would let him leave with this divine heritage. Thus, he needed to get this heritage when they thought it was still inaccessible. He had used his lesser angel and lesser demon to process most of the activation on the unsealing rune diagram. His rune diagram was invisible. Without a deep understanding of the rune diagram, what his two minions did in the commoner's eyes was just them moving around senselessly. And he knew within this hall he was the only player with that kind of knowledge. When the process was almost completed, he commanded a Glee to self-destruct using her light nova. He again used the Lesser Angel and Lesser Demon as meat shields added with some powerful defensive spells. Once the light nova ended, he used the invisibility scroll and headed to the Divine Heritage to finish the final unsealing process himself. He didn't expect Jack to find out about him so fast. He had been gritting his teeth when Jack came over. It would be difficult to battle Jack and complete the unsealing process at the same time. But when Jack turned back, he was laughing as well as scoffing at Jack's action. Good will always win. Ha! With how Good is trying to save everyone instead of focusing on the objective, it is a wonder that Good ever wins. Master mocked in his mind. He then saw Grace come at him. He did not worry about this little girl. He cast a spell, ending his invisibility, when Grace was almost upon him. Grace felt herself gripped by an invisible force with tremendous strength. Her body was then forcefully dragged to the side. She smashed into the wall. Master kept Grace pinned to the wall using telekinesis while his other hand continued working on the seal. Grace was unable to move. Master's intelligence stat was so high that his telekinesis was extremely powerful. Grace cast her offensive spell then, Chain Lightning. Unfortunately, Master had seen Grace use this spell before, so he was not caught off guard even when it was not a spell that an Inquisitor should have. Master's one hand that held the magic staff had to maintain the telekinesis spell, so he stopped the unsealing process for a while. His free hand came up just as the chain lightning came. Then Grace saw something that made her eyes bulge. Master captured the chain lightning and stopped it using his bare hand. "You a Euro? You can use mana manipulation a Euro?" Grace exclaimed in surprise. Not only a basic mana manipulation. To stop a spell like that, this showed Master's mana manipulation was very advanced already. He even combined that technique with his game knowledge. He knew the mechanic of chain lightning and used his mana manipulation to unravel the spell upon contact. "Humph!" Master simply harumphed in response. He went back to work on the Divine Heritage while Grace struggled futilely against his telekinesis. Not long after, the seal was gone and the Divine Heritage came into his hand. "Mission accomplished," Master uttered. The Divine Heritage went into his inventory and the entire place was shaken by a huge earthquake. When Grace was held by Master's telekinetic spell, Jack was getting pulled toward Euphysine. Jack didn't panic, though. His mind was calm. He had been channeling his mana onto his Stormbreaker. The sword's heart mantra flowed through his hand into his sword. He used Brave Slash again. The golden light encompassing his sword was especially bright due to mana manipulation. However, he didn't swing it normally as he usually did. This time, he combined the execution of this skill with his martial art one-word slash. He never attempted this before, but his improved sword's heart let him see this possibility. He had come upon this enlightenment when he used the previous Brave Slash on Euphysine. Now, he put this into practice. The game skill combined with martial art and mana manipulation created a light that formed a long straight line. This light went past the ice chain that was pulling at him. As it did, the ice chain was cut clean in two. The light continued and went past Euphysine. Previously, she had suffered intense pain, albeit small damage from the skill. This time, there was an animation at her belly where the light punctured it. Blood spurted. The pain she felt this time was manifold than before. Additionally, a large damage number came up above her.